Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the We Know Traders podcast over here on RHAP. I'm your host, the Duke of Deception, back once again to talk more about this season of the Traitors US season 4. And this is a very different podcast to what I usually would do. Making a date,
Same.
yeah, in a bit of a role reversal here, folks, over here on this network. I will be conducting a deep dive, talking to the one and only Rob Cesternino today.
Maybe not so deep.
Hey, medium dive.
A long, shallow dive of my game on the Traitors. I'm alive. I'm back.
Back at it again, here with us all. Rob, how are you doing at this hour?
I'm really doing incredible, and I've gotten so much love and support, and I checked in with you and Mike on Thursday night, and I just wanted to tell everybody, hey, look, I'm okay. But really, even since then, I'm doing fantastic. It's been such a great show of love and support that I've gotten over the last couple of days. But some people have heard, this is like my birthday. I got like a nice message from almost every single person I've ever met. People I went to college with, like, hey, I just watched you. Oh man, I'm so like, you were doing so good. I can't believe it. I didn't know what they were going to show. I didn't know how the world was going to see it. And I really have been living for 7 months with maybe people are going to be like, wow, you flopped. You were a disaster. You were horrible. And I don't even know why they brought you back. You stunk. You were weird. We didn't like you. And get off my screen. Total miss. And I did not really get that. If it's out there, I haven't seen it, and don't send it to me. But I've really just been so overwhelmed with all of the love and support that I've gotten over these last couple of days. It's been really such a nice experience.
Rob, and it was absolutely earned. Every single bit of praise you've gotten has been earned. I'm coming from someone who's watched the episodes more than once at this point to cover it. You were a absolute standout in the time you were there, so I was absolutely happy to see it. Also, proud to say, I have been sent quite a few. Rob, there's edits of you out there now.
I have not seen them yet, but would love to see them along the way. And thank you for all the work that you've done, Pooya. I came home. I desperately wanted to tell you what happened. And I know you're such a purist. You don't want to know anything. That there's a lot of people like, hey, what happened? That's so not you. And so I really, really respect that, because that's how I am also. I know people came back from Survivor 50 and everybody was like talking about, I'm like, please, 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 I don't want to know anything. And so I really wanted everybody to be unspoiled, because that's what it is to be a professional in reality TV.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're watching for. We're watching for highs, we're watching for lows, we're watching to really feel things. And when I tell you, I felt many of things, Rob, watching it, and like a lot of it positive for the most part. So I feel like let's rewind the tape then. Let's scale back to all the way to the beginning of your journey here.
And this is totally, Pooya is driving wherever he wants to go. And I do not think that it was perfect what I did by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm happy to go over the many things that I was not right about and not just dwell on the positive.
Yeah, we're gonna try and get all the answers today.
Sure.
Good, bad, whatever, everything. So what I want to do, Rob, first is kick off all the way back to before the show begins. You are in the mix for this. What is your steps to preparing for the Traitors? What was your homework?
So I first found out I was going to do the Traitors. I had a couple of different calls in the spring around March, but I think I found out in April was when I was going to definitely be on it. And I just started going back to the international versions. I had seen US 1, 2, 3, and obviously had podcasted with you about them, but I had never watched any of the international versions. So I watched UK 1, 2, 3. I watched Canada 1 and 2. I watched Australia 2, of course, with the great Annabelle, of course, that does such a great job with you on Babes on the Brink, and also with you on the Traitors UK podcast. And then I also watched New Zealand 2, I think might have been like the last season I had watched before I left.
Yeah, those are, first of all, a great mix for different scenarios. I feel like people would want to know which ones were some of your favorites watching those.
So the UK versions, I think, are my personal favorites, and I think that the UK version is, I think, is actually like the purest version of the game in terms of that they. And the celebrity UK version was really great. Also, shout out to my shirt brother. And I just wanted to say that the UK version is really so well done, and it's the same production company and the same producers that do it. But there's no metagame in the UK
Yes.
version, which is just like a really pure way to play the Traitors.
Yeah, we talked about this at length on the very latest recap with Annabelle, that like the US almost feels like a different game just simply because of the meta game, and people having somewhat of a knowledge of each other, or like unspoken words and bonds depending on who's in the castle. So it is a little bit different in that regard.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you've watched the show, you've gotten prepared on that front. So now you have a knowledge bank of what the formatting of the show is, what kind of the different personalities you could expect to see are, maybe some of the twists along the ways. Is there anything else you did in preparation before your journey?
I really tried to do a lot of work on studying people, and I really enjoy anything that's self-improvement to begin with. So I was, I had been in the mix for Survivor 50. So I really had been training to be on a reality show from August of 2024 when they first called me, hey, do you want to be on Survivor? So I love getting ready to go on reality shows. And it was really, it's funny when they called me and told me you're out on Survivor. I think I was out officially on Survivor for a period of, I think they called me on a Tuesday. And in that same week, I got an email from the Traitors on a Sunday. And the email said, hey, we tried to contact you on Thursday on Instagram, and I don't always check the not friend messages. My bad. I missed it. And they said, hey, we've been trying to get a hold of you since Thursday. So there was a period of 2 days when I wasn't in the mix for a reality show in the last year.
And how would you describe those 2 days? Bliss or miss?
Honestly, it was fine. And I know so many people were sad when I wasn't going to go on Survivor 50, but I really was okay with it because I had really good conversations with the producers of the Traitors already by that point, and they had not made an offer. But I felt like there was a point when I was really scared that I was going to have both shows say that they want me, and I was going to have to make a decision. And I didn't ultimately, the way that it played out, I was very happy with, because I didn't have to, how they tell people on Survivor, remember when in Survivor 48, where they called all those people up and they showed like Joe on Zoom and like, hey, Joe, guess what? You're going on Survivor. Like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And they would have said, hey, Rob, you're going on Survivor 50. And I was like, can I get back to you? Let me just call you back if you could. So yeah, frankly, it was a little bit of a relief. Not that I wouldn't have loved to go have been and done Survivor 50. I would have, but it was a real like head and heart decision for me of if both shows would have said, we want you.
Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine how that would have felt to go from 0 offers to now 2. You're like, yeah.
And, if the Traitors didn't happen, I was ready to go to Fiji and go to do the interviews, to go do preseason press for Survivor 50. And I felt very stupid because I had begged, hey, can I go to Survivor 50 to go do interviews? And they said, yes, you can, Rob. We'll. And then I'm like, hey, remember how I begged you to go do the interviews for Survivor 50? Like something came up, and now I can't go.
Hey, it was a show offer. I think that is absolutely fair to,
First world problems all around, but also a lot of I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but not the last time.
No, and also I think you made the right call. So, Rob, in the lead up to getting to your, getting to Scotland, I feel like you have to have in your head the idea of, all right, do I want to be a faithful? Do I want to be a traitor? Yeah. We certainly predicted quite a bit and talked a lot about this in the preseason journey. And ultimately, I want to hear from you directly why your choice was the way it was, as
Yeah,
far as
they
like being
didn't show
faithful.
my conversations really with Alan too much in the like that they call that, I think that the gold talk, where you're sitting there and you're in front of the gold, and he's like do you want to be a traitor and why? And I told Alan and I told the producers I wanted to be a faithful. I really did. And in hindsight, that may have been a mistake. And when we look back at things and we say, like, what could you have done differently? What could you have changed? That's probably the biggest thing that I could have done is I could have said, like, hey, make me a traitor. But one, I don't think that I would be great at it. I really
Mhm.
felt like that I wanted to come in and I wanted to be myself and I wanted to be warm and I wanted to be authentic and I really wanted to show the other players and the world like here's me being me. And I didn't want to come in with a secret and be hiding anything. I think that that really would have hurt my ability to make relationships. I also felt like that, especially coming off of season 3, and little did I know that there would be an invoice to pay, as bad as there was for the gamers in season 3.
Mhm.
I really felt like that people would come into season 4 and say, all right, let's just banish the gamers. I really did not come into season 4 thinking, let's murder the gamers. So
Mhm.
my biggest fear coming in, or one of my biggest concerns was, how am I going to survive the first roundtable? I really, my concerns about getting murdered were actually like pretty small. And my concerns about being banished almost right off the bat were very high. So I felt like that if I come in as a faithful, I have a chance to really try to endear myself to the other players. I thought, and again, another miss by me, I did not think that there would be no gamers in the turret. I thought that, okay, maybe not 2, but certainly 1. And I want to work with the gamers. I want to work with the other people from the shows. They'll keep me safe. I'm here with numbers, and I'm also a person who, could go out at the round table ahead of them. I felt like that there will be another traitor who's a gamer. They will probably help keep me safe. They'll be like a traitor angel for me, and I'll be able to be a like welcome part of the group and endear myself to all the other players. And maybe down the road I'll get recruited, but I'll sort of like have my feet under me. I'll be ready to be able to be a traitor down the road. But I thought that the biggest flop I think you could be is to come in to be a traitor and instantly everybody's like, you're a traitor, you're out.
That's the worst case scenario. That's the nightmare scenario. And then, you'll have the same stint, same duration you were on the show as a trader, but that is very negatively seen, right? If a trader gets
Worst
caught
trader
immediately,
ever. Yeah, it's just, I
exactly.
think that that's really the biggest way to flop on the traders is to just be a bad trader and be instantly sniffed out right out of the gate.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, I like what you mentioned about the fact that you felt like, all right, murders are not really my worry because of all the logic you've placed in front of it, which absolutely makes sense. And at that point, then you
Oh,
don't
it was a
like,
worry. It was, I don't want to say that
right.
there was no concern, but I felt like that I thought coming in, unless there was a gamer that was in there, and check out on Patreon the podcast we did with Brandon of all of the different reality TV feuds that I had, where maybe there's somebody, if there's somebody from reality TV who already has a predisposition, doesn't like me, and then they're in the turret and they have an issue with me from before of what I talked about them on the podcast. I did think that there was a world where there could be a gamer in the turret who takes me out. Hey, here's payback for blah 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 podcast or what you said. You didn't, well, you just had to be nice, Rob. And then I end up getting taken out for some stupid reason. And I was worried about that. But for the most part, I felt like that I could get a shield. I could, have a gamer trader angel. I could just like by process of elimination, like randomly, that you have a pretty decent chance from an odds perspective of not being murdered. So I felt like that on the murder front, I felt like that you have a lot of outs to make it through every episode, whereas I really was much more concerned about being banished coming in.
So you've mentioned that
Especially
now.
after Boston Rob had just been a traitor in the past season.
Right. Well, I mean, another survivor Rob, in that regard. Were you worried that people were just gonna be like, another Rob from Survivor, there's gonna be an issue? Like, what was because you sound like you were concerned about banishment. What was it about either yourself or the perception you would have had coming in that you were worried banishment was your bigger concern?
I just felt like that he's from Survivor. You can't trust him. He is going to be he's a snake. He's like all the things that people associate with survivors, especially because of what I do on RHAP as a podcast. I really thought people were going to come in and not trust me at all. And it's, I guess, like kind of a nice thing from this experience that I got was I don't really think anybody was that suspicious of me. I didn't hear one person either in the show or in real life ever be really contemplating that I was a traitor. I'm sure like in the back of people's minds, people thought it was possible, but I didn't give anybody any ideas at all that I was a traitor. And like, I'm kind of proud of that because I felt like that I really just wanted to come in and really play my social game and have relationships with everybody that was there. And I felt like I did have great relationships with almost all of the other people that were there. So I think it was a testament to that. And, you know, I still ended up getting murdered. So what are you going to do?
Hey, you can do everything right in this game and then still have it go sideways in a minute. Yeah, I feel like what was interesting was one of the first outsider impressions we got of you was, I believe it was Caroline, when everyone was walking down to look at the card that Alan had in front of him, and Caroline was like, he's gonna help us crack this, like he's gonna like keep an eye on him, but it was a positive keep an eye on. It wasn't he's gonna be sketchy. It was he's gonna lead us to like help.
Look at me, Caroline Stanberry. Who knew that the legend of Rob as a podcast has made it all the way to Dubai, Pooya?
Hey, that's my old stomping ground.
Yes.
So happy to
We're
hear
huge
that.
in Dubai. Shout out to all our listeners in Dubai. And thank you so much to Caroline Stanberry and Sergio. If you're listening.
Positive endorsement for Rob right there. Yeah, Rob, so you get in your car, your starting vehicle. Everyone's driving down to the castle. You look around, you see these three people in your car. What was your first impression and your thoughts of who you ended up in the starting vehicle with?
So I was super aware of who all three of the other people in my car were. Obviously, Monet Exchange is, I don't know many Drag Race contestants. Obviously, last season I knew of Bob the Drag Queen, who I just got to speak to on the official Traitors podcast with Bob the Drag Queen and Boston Rob, which was very fun. But of course, I knew Monet Exchange was somebody who was a possibility to come on to the Traitors season 4. And so I was familiar with her work, and I was thrilled to get to be in the starting car with Monet. And you didn't see it in the episode, but I felt like I really hit it off very well with Monet. And Monet, you can see in the episode, is such a social butterfly. Monet, probably almost everybody probably thought they had something good going on with Monet, but I really did. And I was in a lot of my cars with Monet, traveling back and forth to the challenges. And before we went to the castle, we were all talking, and I told Monet Exchange that she had some lipstick on her teeth to come in, and I felt like that really engendered like some good trust from Monet Exchange. And I felt very good about Monet from the jump because I felt like that I was really a lot in the meta game of, I felt like that Bob the Drag Queen was a traitor last season. I thought it was very unlikely that Monet would be a traitor this season. I feel like that they tend to, the producers, if they do one thing, I feel like that the pendulum swings back the other way for the next season. And so maybe I should have seen all the Housewives in the turret, considering that. But I didn't think that they would put Monet as a traitor right after Bob the Drag Queen. And then I was also with Donna Kelsey, and Donna was very fun that first night going to the, and I really think that getting the secret traitor card threw her off because she was really very tight after that. I don't think she wanted it. And I think that it really threw her off. And I think that Donna as a faithful would have been very interesting because she was very chatty that first night in the car. And then Lisa Rinna, I have only so much love and admiration for Lisa Rinna because she was a complete 180 from what I thought she was going to be. Actually, all of the Housewives I was extremely impressed with. But I think that for a person who's not in the Bravo world, you think of like, okay, what's Lisa Rinna gonna be like? What is, just imagine that in your head. And I kind of thought that she would come in and be this diva who would just be so out of touch and so just above everything. And she was not that at all. Lisa Rinna was so personable. She was so lovely. I enjoyed all of the conversations that I got to have with her. She's just so fun. She's so impressive for someone who has had such an amazing career to come in. And I think she's doing such a good job as a traitor. And so I feel like that when I found out that Lisa was a traitor, you know, after that, like I was like, that's really cool. It was so fun to watch her in the first episode. So I've just been so impressed with Lisa. She's so genuine and not at all somebody that you would think is like, oh, this celebrity who's too good to, you know, interact with anybody.
Yeah, that was the read I got from watching. Seemed like you had a good relationship with all three people in your starting vehicle.
Yeah.
Which you know, that's already, you're in a good spot to kick things off. And
I
feel
mean,
like
I felt like I had a good relationship with everybody.
right. Well, we'll get to that. I want to know. I'm not necessarily going to ask you to rank people, but I want to know more about your
I'll rank
relationships.
whoever you
after.
want.
Oh my God. Okay, we're getting the full access
Yeah.
here, folks. So, Rob, you get out of these cars. You start seeing everyone else get out of these cars.
What's going to happen to me? I'm going to get murdered again?
You're safe now. Yeah, they can't get you now.
This is my safe place, okay?
Yeah, there's no conga line happening here.
I'm unkillable, everybody. Gets that?
Exactly. Well, Rob.
Unless I get canceled, but.
Well, I feel like you're not going to. I feel like I doubt you have anything to say that could. I mean, I'm not. This isn't a challenge, by the way. I'm not saying, hey, I dare you. Rob, you get out of the car. Everyone else getting out of their cars. I imagine for you, are you like darting immediately? Like, who are the other people that I know here? Like, where are the gamers at? Like, what are you looking for the minute you step out of this vehicle?
Yeah, I think you're looking around to see who everybody is and trying to get a sense of like, who is that person? Who is that person? And it's, you know, it was hard at nighttime. I can't understate this. All the other seasons of the Traitors start in the daytime. And you come to the house and it's a night of the castle. It's a beautiful day and you're standing outside and it seemed that must be very calm. We came to the castle at nighttime and it was like, I thought I wouldn't be nervous, but it was very spooky. And I was in the front seat of the first car at the gate. And I didn't know if the guys were going to come and rip us out of the car or what. You never know what they're going to do. And so you've never been to the castle before. And so it was a very surreal and spooky experience. I called it creepy, and it was. And you just didn't know what you were going to expect. And it was freezing cold, and I was nervous. And Pooya, I was also, that night, I came home and I was upset with myself because of how nervous I was the first night. I really thought that I would come in and I wanted to be more loosey-goosey. And it was really like the first day of school. And I was a little disappointed in myself that I felt like I was a little too tight the first night.
Well, I mean, in your defense, when's the last time you had this feeling? You know, like when was the last time you went to school? It's been a minute. So like, it's going to be a little tough. Yeah.
It's been a minute. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, from where we're standing, you seemed like a natural. You were talking to hella people. You were in conversations. You were not like, you seemed like
I was trying,
normal.
but I didn't feel as loose and as comfortable as I think I could have been. And it's one of the things that I really have felt like that since this experience, I feel like that I have been able to be more comfortable in different situations after going through this experience. And so it's one of the many great things that has come out of this for me. But I really that first night, I was disappointed in myself that I was feeling just a little tight.
Mhm. Well, we do see you interact with Tiffany.
Yep.
One of the main conversations we see you have is with Tiffany. Was there a good comfort there with you once you saw Tiffany? Did it feel like grounding?
So I really never interacted too much with Tiffany Mitchell. I think I might have been on like
Hmm.
an Instagram live with her. I've never met her in person. I have watched her vicariously on the live feeds. Obviously, we all
Hmm.
watched her in Big Brother 23, and I watched her in the challenge. I think I must have interviewed her for when she was AFP, and I interviewed her but like we didn't have a relationship coming into this, but I just felt like that she was somebody else who was a really smart person. I was looking for people who I could talk strategy with. And I thought that
Mm.
she would be such a good person because she got it. And if there was anybody that you could dream of like who's somebody who could have like a secret alliance that could have like a bunch of different side pieces to be able to really understand the social game, but also the strategic game. Tiffany was just a dream ally. And we're like the same age. She's somebody also but interacts with a ton of younger people in the same way that I do. And I just feel like that we have a lot of things in common that I don't think that people might assume looking at us.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one of the things we had seen in the sneak peek before the episodes had released, and people were very stoked on this duo, very excited to see where it would go. And so my next question for you is, we get two other people from the show your origins are, right?
Mhm.
Survivor, two people from different eras to yours as well. How did you feel about seeing Natalie and Jam Jam there?
So I was so excited to see Natalie. To me, I really felt like that Natalie was going to be a ride or die for me because I just thought of Natalie as a player. She's such a great person to work with. She doesn't really turn on her allies. And I feel like that if you are good with Natalie, you're good with Natalie. And so I felt incredible about having Natalie there at the castle. And then I felt pretty good about Jam Jam on paper. And he was somebody who is obviously a winner of Survivor, somebody who's a big personality. I had always had a very positive relationship with Jam Jam in the past. So I felt like that was also a positive.
And then, of course, you and Ian go way back.
Yep.
Ian, in our world, used to be the anchor on the Thursday eviction recaps with you.
Yeah, Ian has not really been in the reality TV world since he came back and did Big Brother 22. And him and I have talked on the phone at various points over the last couple of years, but that was a surprise that Ian ends up showing up here on the Traitors. And obviously, I loved to have Ian there. And I did feel like that Ian was somebody who I felt like, okay, well, hey, look, I'm not the smartest person here. Like in terms of like if you're looking for who's the smartest reality star, I felt like that people were going to look at Ian more so than me. I got to come across as a little bit more of loosey goosey if you were looking at me and Ian. So I was very excited to see him. I felt like that was somebody also who I could trust. And so I was thrilled that Ian was there.
Yeah, I really liked this gamer group for you. Obviously, while you had made your way to Scotland and we started seeing who's on, for me, I was like, you're not the winner amongst the survivors. That's
Nope.
good. The Rob that won was last year, so like you can easily be discounted in that regard. Ian is going to be more of they're going to see him be like, that's the genius of the gamers. So I was like, I don't see this as a bad turnout for you. I think this is a good mix for you to just, exactly like you said, feel a little bit more relaxed in.
And I really wanted people to feel like, hey, like I was on Survivor a very long time ago. I do a podcast now, but I'm a dad from North Carolina. I have two kids, and I love talking to all these different reality stars because it's so fun. And I love people. I love all the personalities, and we've built this great community on Rob's podcast about people who love these shows too.
Yep. And so we get to the steps. We see Alan. Alan lets y'all know he's picking a traitor right then and there.
Yep.
Were you even like, what was the percentage you thought I can very well end up being a
Well,
traitor
I
right
guess
here?
you have to ask Ian maybe what the percentage chance is. I don't know, maybe like 4% that it could be you out of 23 people. But I was petrified. I did not want to be a traitor in the first place. I didn't want to be made a traitor in front of everybody. Now, hindsight's 2020. I wish I was the secret traitor. Please. Why would
Yeah.
they make me the secret traitor? But I was really incredibly scared that I was going to go down there, get the secret traitor card. Everybody was going to see it on my face. And it would be one thing to be made a traitor in the, in the room, but to have it where then I give it away instantly, I was also like incredibly fearful. And I was also very tight and nervous in those opening moments. So there was a lot of things that were really giving me anxiety in the opening minutes.
I can't imagine being in that position because I would also feel similarly. My biggest worry is it'll show on my face right out the gate and I can't say anything about it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you open the box, it does not say traitor, and I think we can tell there's a relief because what came out of your mouth next, Rob, were 3 words that have been immortalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't come in with like, okay, I'm gonna drop an F-bomb instantly. Like my first chance I get. I can't wait to tell Alan Cumming and say the F word. No, I did not anticipate that. I don't even know what
took over you. just something happened. Something happened in Scotland, man.
Why did that happen? But in hindsight, I'm really glad that they put that in, because in the moments that I'm like, oh, well, they're not going to show that. And in the moments that, that after I'm like, okay, well, that's just insane. They're not gonna show that. And then when it happened in the episode, I really was like, oh, hey mom, hey kids. Yeah, I'm very sorry about this. And I'm glad that they did it because it was a fun moment in the show, and I really meant it. Like I really did want to play as hard as I could.
And Rob, thank you for the gift. We do appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I really meant it. That I just wanted to show people. I didn't want to come off as game bot. That I really didn't want that, and I hope that that's not how people came across, because I feel like that they didn't show as much of my personality as they did whenever I was talking about the game on the show. But I really did want to come in and play a game for the faithful that I feel like Ian said it in the episode, that the faithful game still, that there is more. It's a juicy nut waiting to be cracked open, I think is what he said. And I really believe that. It's something that I think that the strategies of the faithful have not been fully explored. There's been so many great traitors, but the people that got me really excited when I watched all of the shows, of course, Annabelle, my queen, incredible, such a like font of knowledge about all things traitors. I loved watching Kevin Martin and the way that he played the game. I really like Alexander in the UK. I loved faithfuls who were figuring things out, and that's really what I wanted to be on the show. And I know there's a danger in that, but I felt like that I could mitigate the dangers in that. And I just wanted to be somebody that the audience felt like, okay, this person has the traitors on the back foot for once.
Yeah, and you said as much to Alan. You mentioned you wanted to turn this game of cat and mouse on its head, and I agree with you. I think that what's been very interesting, and let me make this about me for 2 minutes. But watching,
then I'm going to make it about you.
Hey, watching these episodes, Rob, I changed my mind for a little bit of like, because I've always said I want to go in, if I go in faithful, and if it's in the cards to be a traitor, be a traitor. And then I saw your fate, and I was like, you know what? Let that be damned. I don't want to get murdered overnight. I just don't want that. Maybe you just go in and ask for it to be a traitor. But I truly agree with you that it's like, if you can get to play the faithful game and then turn into a traitor, you've got to play the entire game. You've got to play all the roles.
Yeah.
That's the dream. Versus I feel like being a traitor, it's a very different game to play than a faithful. I think also watching the game of tightrope that a faithful has to play is very tough, but if you can make that work, it looks so good and it's so satisfying to watch. And I think that's the thing that we're looking for, right? You're looking for the quintessential faithful game, because we've seen the quintessential traitors game be played a couple of times now, different people, different franchises. But I think the clinical faithful game, we're seeing bits and pieces in different franchises, but I still feel like that is a more impressive thing to see, because you have to like do everything right and then not get punished for doing everything right, which is very tough tightrope to walk.
It's a tightrope to walk for sure. I said this to Alan in the Castle confessional video, that I said, especially in the US version to this point, we've seen the traitors win and we've seen the traitors self-destruct, and by proxy, the faithful have won. No shade to the different faithfuls who have won the game, because individually they all did interesting, smart things. But I think that we've seen the faithful wins have come because the traitors had blow-ups where they threw each other under the bus, and the faithful were able to capitalize on that. And not always because of what the faithful were doing. That it was in the past where in season 3, for instance, that we saw that it was there was a lot of drama in the turret that ended up like creating doors for the faithful to end up winning the game. I really wanted to play a game where it was the faithful causing the problems for the traitors that they were going to have to navigate, as opposed to them going after each other. And this is where the part about you comes in, is where I'm so excited to get to podcast about this whole season now with you every week. And one of the things I really want to do is focus on what the faithful are doing and what's working and what's not working from the perspective of the faithful and how they're approaching things, as opposed to having a more traitor-centric viewpoint, which I think that the show gives you, as that's what the program is. I would love to like look at things more from the side of the faithful, and I think that's going to give us some really fun things to talk about on the podcast.
That excites me. Yeah, because you're absolutely right. The show is traitors first. It's titular. That's the main POV. So it's like you have to sift through to look at the traitor, the faithful moves and dissect those. And having your knowledge of the people there, like at the very, like, beyond just the first impression, I think is going to help us understand a lot more of what's going on. So it'll be a very fun, in-depth discussion. I'm here for it.
And I wish I was there longer, and I wish I had more experience to share, but I have more experience than I had last season.
Exactly. We have more knowledge now than we ever did, Rob.
I know so much more about the traitors than I did when we podcast the first 3 seasons.
Oh, for sure. But you also have, the bank of all the seasons before that, all the other franchises.
Yeah, I've watched all the UK season or the international seasons too. So I'm really looking forward to podcasting the rest of the season with you. I think it's going to be really, really fun.
Yeah, I think we're going to make a good meal out of it. We're going to have a good time. And I also echo, wish you were there longer. But again, there are always silver linings in life, and this is one of them for me. So I'm thankful for that. Now, Rob, back to the steps when you were watching everybody go down and open the thing. 2 questions for you. How well were you able to see everybody? And then second question, was there anybody that you thought was suspicious or ended up on your radar as a result of being there?
I was sort of dead center, which you would think would be a great vantage point to have. But it turns out Alan was blocking me from what I could see. I really couldn't get a good look at what was going on. Also, there was like a lot of like chattering and like side conversations happening. I think if you were on the ends, I think that like Ron Funches was on the end. I think Jam Jam was all the way on one end, and Rob Roush was on one end. I think that being on the end, or maybe if you were like Michael Rappaport and like, 6'3" and also standing on the top step, I think that was another person that might have had a good vantage point. But I think you really wanted to be on the sides, and I was sort of straight on in the middle, and I couldn't see much.
Okay, well, you couldn't see much, but you leave being not a traitor as of
Yeah.
right now, and that was some solace you had going into what ends up being the official ceremony to select the starting traitors.
Hmm.
How, and I want you to describe the environment first, because you and I have talked about this before, but you have now lived it. What is the atmosphere like being there blindfolded with 22 other people at the round table?
First off, the round table, you're not prepared for just how spectacular and grandiose that room is, because the castle, and you could look it up. Ian had tipped me off to, you could look it up on Wikipedia. The Traitors Castle has this rich 300-year history. It was a hunting lodge, but there's it was a chapel, that room that they do the all of the banishment ceremonies in,
Mhm.
and it's beautiful. It is ornate, and the ceiling is like 100 feet up in the air.
Oh,
It's not like a set. It is, you are in this cathedral church, and it's just like the air is heavy. It's just so incredible and immersive. And so that was just really, really cool. But I was also getting very close to, as Ron Funches said, getting ready to poop his pants a little bit as Alan paced around and around and around the room.
yeah, you mentioned a lot of chatter when everyone's at the steps. I imagine you can hear a pin drop in this room during
Sure.
that time.
And Alan's footsteps, you just hear as like the floor is creaking as he's getting closer to you. And I didn't want to be a traitor. So I was a little bit bracing myself every single time he walked by. And then, okay, relief, relief. Okay, I'm not a traitor. I'm not a traitor. And I had done so much preparation to be a faithful. I really just, in the last couple days before I went, I said, okay, well, let me just in case, just in case, let me do some, give it some thought of how I'm going to handle this as a faithful. And I felt like that I would just really lean on all of the information that I had put together of how I was going to play as a faithful, and somebody, Dalton Ross, I think, had okay, why would you be a good traitor? And my answer was
Yes.
kind of nonsensical. It didn't make sense, where I said, well, I have this perfect cover story of that I'm going to be such a great faithful. People are like, well, what does that even mean? But it was really that I had done all of my prep work to be a faithful and how I was going to approach the game. And as a traitor, I was going to still come across and I just lean on that, but I did not want to be a traitor.
Yeah, I mean, I
Maybe
think
one of the
that
few
there's
people.
yeah, I feel like based on those, because I did see that article with Dalton Ross, it didn't seem like there was a lot of people that were on that in that camp. But I do think there's some validity to what you're saying about the fact that you prepared as a faithful, and your answer being, well, it would never be expected because I'm going to be so faithful. I feel like that energy translated to what Caroline was saying at those steps. I feel like,
Yeah.
like there's something to be said about that, like going in with that mentality and kind of just exuding that kind of energy.
I think that a lot of players who come into the game, not even just for season 4, come in, I want to be a traitor. Alan, make me a traitor, make me a traitor, make me a traitor. And then they're not a traitor, and they don't know what to do at all,
Right.
because they came in and they're like, wait, why didn't you make me a traitor? Now I'm sort of like on the back foot of what am I doing? And I think that there have certainly been gamers in the past that has happened to, where my mentality was to always, I want to be a faithful. I want to come in as a faithful. And so I'm ready to go off the bat as a faithful. And I don't need to pivot to, okay, well, I wanted to be a traitor, but now I'm a faithful. So I felt very locked in as a faithful once the game started.
So the game has now begun. The blindfolds are off. You are a faithful. You're ready to kick this game off. Now, here, was there anything that caught your eye? Who ends up? Because I'm assuming you have a evolving shortlist at this point once the game begins.
Yeah.
What were the first impressions like post blindfolds?
So after the blindfolds came off, I was really trying to look around the room, and I was looking for somebody who had like sort of a big reaction. I was looking at Mora as somebody who I thought was a potential traitor. I have this here, and I haven't gotten to talk about this too much because most of my thoughts about the traitors have come in between when I was watching all the seasons and when I got to talk to you. But I have this theory of the traitors and who gets picked, where I think that the producers tend to, their ideal turret looks like, one, we want a traitor who is going to be the control freak, the traitor who has to. This is in UK season 2. Imagine like the Paul, the person who's at the center of everything. I mean, that last season you had both Bob the Drag Queen and Boston Rob are both the people that in the turret and also in the castle during the day, they are in the center of everything. They're like the most popular person in the room. This season, I think that's Candace, the person who is at the center of everything and wants to be running everything. I think that they're looking for somebody who is in that mold. Then, one of the types of traitors that always gets picked, there's the quiet one. Okay. And this is the person who typically I think has the best track record in terms of Suri, Anetta. I think that at times Danielle could have been this last season. I think Lisa is really falling into that role here in this season, even though you think Lisa Rinna, what a big personality. But and I'm not sure even if in this particular season that this was like how they were looking at it. And again, this is just how I look at these turrets across the different seasons of the Traitors, of, you know, people maybe just fall into those roles in the edit, maybe more so than what happens in the castle. But you have your control freak that's doing too much. You have your quiet one who's like sort of like just right. And then there's a wild card. And the wild card, it's the pick that has so much variance, where it could be somebody who's just a disaster. I mean, was it Linda in UK 3? Was it, the person who comes in where they're just going to be such a wild card? Who was that guy that was with Netta in
Michael John?
Yeah. The person that it's like, I can't believe they made this person a traitor. Carolyn is another person. And so I was trying to think of who could be the wild card in the turret. And to me, I thought that Mora was a very interesting person to be that wild card trait. Now, I had the right show.
You were there. 50-50.
I had the wrong Love Island person, where Rob Roush, I think, is that wild card. And he's a wild card, and he's that pick that has so much variance, where I'm not sure the producers thought he was going to be so effective as a traitor. I think that maybe they thought it could have gone any number of ways, where he could have just been a total loose cannon. But I was really impressed with him in the first 3 episodes.
Same. I mean, I've said that for me, he was someone that I thought could be a shout, but like he was maybe 7th or 8th on my list, which meant that they're probably not going to get him. There's a lot more compelling picks here. But I think that after the success that was having Carolyn in the turret, someone who we recognized before the season as a Survivor player would be a great pick. But we were like, but there's Tony, there's Jeremy, there's Boston Rob. They're going to pick one of them before they pick her. And they pick her, and she's impressive doing this. No one's expecting her.
Yeah.
I think they were like, oh, this is magic. We need more of this. And I think that Rob Roush is the ultimate, why would anyone ever think it's him? And I think, to his credit, he could have just easily been quiet and done nothing. But I've been also very impressed with the forward thinking that he's doing as a traitor, which has been fun to see. I mean,
I don't think anybody could have expected how he's played as a traitor. I think you would have thought, and I did not see his Love Island work. Obviously, I had heard a lot about him coming in, but I think that maybe you thought that he was just going to be maybe a maniac.
Well, let's stop right there, because a thought has come into my mind. Rob, you get into the castle, you get into the show, you get out of the car, you meet everybody. You then clock, oh, there's a second Rob here. How did that feel?
I didn't love it, to be honest.
Course.
I didn't love it, but I felt like that, okay, well, this Rob, he's covered in snake tattoos. He's not going to be somebody that people will trust off the bat. And
Hmm.
I felt like that there was maybe some room to play. Like I told people like, hey, you can call me Robbie. That's fine. I'll be like, give me like a friendlier version of my name rather than being so formal, Rob C, Rob R. But I don't know. I don't know if it would have stuck.
Robbie. I've never thought to call you
Yeah.
Robbie.
Well, that's what my wife calls me. That's what my parents call me and my brother and sister. So to me, it feels like a more like familiar name. I mean, nobody calls me that in real life, but I think that he was, either, I mean, Candace called him Alabama Rob, or some people called him Alabama.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Alabama Rob was wild.
Mhm.
Given yeah. Anyway. Yeah, that was interesting. So, okay. So now the first traders have been picked. The game begins. It's afoot. Aside from we had seen you talk to Tiffany, you've already mentioned that you had a good relationship with Monet. And you've mentioned that you were pretty much in good standing with everybody, but who are some of the people out the gate that you ended up communicating with and felt good about?
So I was really just trying to work the room as much as possible. And I made it a point to try to talk to every single person that was there. I loved Portia. Really,
Hmm.
Portia and Candace. You really only saw my interaction with Candace in the kitchen when the murder in plain sight is happening. I had a really good relationship with Candace up until that point. And you do see in the first challenge where
Yep.
they try to put the casket into my grave, and Candace says, no, 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 we need him. We need him. And to me, I felt like that Portia and Candace were the girls at the popular table, and I just felt like that everything in the house was going to revolve. I would say house a lot in the confessional. They'd say castle. I just felt like that they were going to be in the center of everything, and I had so much respect for Candace, who is somebody I was not super familiar with before all of this, but she is such a talented, hardworking woman who has done like what a impressive resume she has. Not to mention, she's a mom of a little baby, and she's out there, still producing so much great work. She's such a talent, and I got that from her, and I just felt like that. I didn't think she was a traitor at until way too late, and she was just somebody who I was like, even if she was a traitor, I wanted to be on her good side, and if she was a faithful, I wanted to be on her good side. So I felt like that anytime Portia or Candace was around, I would try to be as close to them as possible.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I also caught a couple of conversations that Candace was in that you were also there for, or you were talking and Candace was there. So I definitely noticed that as
To
well.
me, she was the queen bee. She was at the hub of everything. And so again, it was not like I'm keeping an eye on her because I'm clocking her as a traitor. If
Mhm.
that the housewife that I thought was a traitor was Dorinda, and we could talk more about that. But I felt like that Candace is she's in every conversation. She's just a key player in this game. And
Mhm.
boy, was I underestimating what a key player she is.
Very key. But it sounds like you had a good read on her being like a bit of a person that is going to be in orbit for people.
Yeah, absolutely. I just felt like that, this is something that I've really have learned about myself from this experience. And I did an interview with Variety the other day, and I didn't say it exactly the way I wanted to,
Mhm.
but I am a really good read of actions. Like, I think that I can logic out something that's happening, but I'm not a vibes person. And I really wanted
Mhm.
to find people who I felt like could read the vibes. My wife is a great vibes person. When we are going in the same direction, we're an incredible team. And to me and Candace, and I expressed this to Candace of like, hey, I'm somebody who can figure things out, but I really feel like that you're somebody who can really read people. And I felt like that I thought that her and I would be a really, really good team together. And again, up until the very final moments of my time, like I felt like that we were. And I feel like that in another world where, you know, the murder in plain sight doesn't happen that way, I do think she's somebody who could have kept me safe as a faithful.
I think so, given what you're telling us and given what we had seen there. We'll definitely, I want to talk about more that murder in plain sight night when we get a little closer to that, because I have a few questions there. But that relationship looked, based on what we had seen, like a solid one for you.
And to go back to Portia, I loved Portia Williams so much. And it is, you were all robbed of how fun she is, that anytime she was in a room, she was the queen of just holding court. I would just sit down next to her anytime there was a meal. I just wanted to be with Portia. I wanted to be in every car with Portia. She is so funny. I hate what happened to her on the show. And I'm sure we'll talk about the round table, but she is just absolutely what a star. And like I hope that I will have more interactions in my life with Portia.
Yeah, I obviously, as you know, I learned most of what I know about the Housewives coming in through these preview podcasts that I do. Yeah. Within the first episode, I loved everything I was seeing with Portia, which then only so devastated me. Yeah. Yeah, she was good vibes.
Yeah, she was so funny and incredible, and she can just hold court like nobody else.
So you mentioned, Rob, that you have this thought in your head of like, okay, there's a wild card trader, there's a calm trader, there's a control freak trader, and then also in the back of your head, you're like, all right, there's at least one gamer. There's a housewife. You said you're looking at Dorinda. So Dorinda being your housewife pick? Was it because she was a returnee that you thought she was the one? Mm-hmm.
I thought that there was a good chance that Dorinda would be the returnee. And then when I don't want to go too far out of order, but then something else, there was something else that made me really start to think that Dorinda was one of the traitors.
Okay, interesting. So do you want to get into that later, or should we open that right now?
I feel like I could bring it up now that when we had the mission and there were 9 of us who were on the short list for murder on death row, Dorinda was so calm about this. And again, I didn't know a lot about Dorinda other than seeing her on season 3. I knew there was a decent chance that Dorinda could have been brought back. By the way, I love that they brought back Dorinda for season 4. That was so cool. I was not super familiar with her work other than in season 3, Dorinda is on the short list for murder, and she comes back and lovingly crashes out at the castle because they ate without her. She goes off on everybody. She goes to the reunion show of season 3 of the Traitors, still is not over it. She's gone after Bob the drag queen of like, hey, how could you have murdered me on night 1? Dorinda is in my boat, in the red boat. And we go up and we see they've put a casket. How dare you, traitors? You put a casket in Dorinda after all this, she comes back and you put a casket in her grave. And Dorinda was like, well, que sera, sera, whatever, whatever happens, happens, whatever will be, it's fine, like, it's fine, Dorinda. And Dorinda is like now totally zen. Since when, Dorinda? And I was like, wow, oh, she must know she's okay. Because I could not fathom that she would have been up for murder again on the first night after all this, and just have been, well, whatever. And she really was, in my time with her, she was so totally chill and zen and relaxed. And kudos to Dorinda, who was, I don't know if she had, really changed the way that she wanted to approach the season, and we'll see how the rest of it goes. But to me, she was just so chill during all of my time with her. I couldn't believe it, especially when she was in almost the same exact scenario as she was 1 year ago, with the possibility to have the same exact fate as she had had a year ago. And she was just like a completely different reaction to it. And maybe
Yeah,
she like, and honestly, you know, in talking with Boston Rob a little bit, you know, and going back to that the reason why the traitors murdered her was she came back and pissed everybody off. And so good on Dorinda for maybe learning her lesson there of like, okay, well, I'm not going to go off on everybody because I'll piss off the traitors and they'll murder me. But I really felt like, okay, they're going to make a housewife a traitor. It makes too much sense that they want Dorinda to last this time. And then she doesn't even have a reaction to the casket. Like, Pooya, nothing. Like, she was just like, well, whatever. She wasn't even like, oh, you know what I'd really hate? It would really, oh boy, that would be annoying. She was nothing.
yeah, that was one of the more surprising things for me in the premiere was the fact that A, we didn't get a lot of Dorinda, and B, when we did, it did seem like a very calm version of what we had seen last year, which was very surprising. And I'm sure we'll talk about that first breakfast as well. But I feel like, Rob, the I'm gonna crash out because I'm on the shortlist role was reserved for Michael Rappaport. The man was
Yes.
not happy.
So I had a lot of interactions with Michael Rappaport, and that they showed a little bit of Michael Rappaport from after we got the traitors were revealed to the players. But Michael Rappaport was just on one from the moment that the game really started. And he came in and he was doing the same spiel in multiple different rooms, but he came in and you see I'm in one of the rooms, I'm sitting right next to him, but
Yes.
he comes back, and if you forgive me for channeling Michael Rappaport, he's going through the math and he's like, hold on a second. I'm not a math guy. Okay. But how many freaking he didn't say freaking. How many freaking housewives are here? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 5 freaking housewives. One of them's a traitor. How many gamers are here? What? So how many, 5? Okay. So 5 freaking gamers and one of them's a traitor. And I was just like, I can't believe he's saying all this. Why is he being like this? And he then and then you see the point where he says to, and he's like, and Rob R, and he looks at him, and you see what he said, like, you're a good looking guy and that's going to be a problem. But he also said, and you know what? I've seen you on TV and you're much more quiet here than you were on Love Island. And he was just like calling everybody out. And to me, I was like, this is incredible. This is a dream, because Michael Rappaport, I felt like, one, there is no way this man is a traitor. There is, of all the wild card traitors you could have, no person would come out as a traitor instantly and call out every single person in the castle.
Right.
That is not anything that has ever happened before or possibly ever on the traitors. So I felt extremely confident in that moment. Michael Rappaport is not a traitor. That being said, I also was concerned that Michael Rappaport was going to lead the charge of like, hey, if there's 5 gamers, let's banish them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will find a traitor. Like, if we just keep going, we will eventually find a traitor, even if there's some collateral damage, that we have hacked the meta of the game. So I didn't like that. And the next day, and then you see, I had a brief conversation with Tiffany that night. And the next day we went to a mission, and they let you pick who you want to be in the cars with for the missions. And so I went to Monet, and Monet first. I said, Monet, like, hey, do you want to, like, you want to get a car together? I said, Monet, if you go from the car, you pick the other people in the car. Okay. You know, you pick, like, well, I'm going to ride with you. And then, because it's very difficult to have private conversations where, especially when there's 23 people around. And it's a little bit like you've played in these sequester games. It's hard to like have a small enough group that you can talk strategy and not be, you don't want to be in a room that has 13 people in it. Like, and so then it's difficult to find a room that has just a couple people in it. And if you're in a room with one person, and that looks kind of shady, that looks kind of sus. Like, why were you alone with that one person? So it is very difficult to be able to have any sort of conversations of substance with people. But I had said to Monet, you picked the people, and Monet picked Pooya. And then I'm not sure also how they picked Tara, who also, I haven't mentioned Tara yet. I love Tara Lipinski. Tara Lipinski was really, really incredible. And she and I got along really, really well. She is from the East Coast originally. She lives out in California. Her house actually burned in the Palisades fire, which is a horrible story. But I started talking to her, and I called her Tara. And she's like, "Oh my God, you know how to say my name right. Every other person doesn't say my name right. Every other person calls me Tara." I said,
that's a good bond
Tara.
right there.
Yeah. So as a, East Coast, she's from New Jersey originally. That was like an easy connection. And she is so down to earth and so relatable. I ended up being in a lot of cars with Tara Lipinski, and she was somebody also who I think she also looked at me as somebody who she did not know the game particularly well. And she looked at me as somebody, okay, I recognize he knows what he's doing, and he's somebody that I want to keep around. She was also in the, I don't know what they call the banishment ceremony room at the round table. She was to my left. That Tara was to my left and Pooya was to my right in the banishment room. And I felt like, oh, these are my buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a nice seat. It was a good spot, I think. Good vantage point also for some of the chaos that was going on around you. So then, yeah, so we get, so you're on the, you find out.
Can I
yeah,
also, and the reason why I started talking about this ride was in the car that morning.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking with Monet and Pooya and Tara, and I said, hey, do we have a Michael Rappaport problem? Because one of the things I really wanted to do was I wanted to unite the gamers and the housewives. I felt like that was important, where, hey, he's coming for us, he's coming for you. Let's have a mutual non-aggression pact between the game players. And I, you know what? I don't even like the term gamers. I was going to say CBS reality people. I said, well, I don't know if Peacock would like that, but I said, let's normalize CBS reality as opposed to the gamers. I hate the gamers. They're the gamers.
Anybody's a gamer. Yeah.
Gamer. You're a gamer. Like, normalize CBS reality, please. Thank you. And, or even competition reality people. The gamer is like such a dirty word.
Dirty?
Yeah. I don't like it. People say it with like a negative connotation, which I don't appreciate. But I really felt like I wanted to, like, the housewives are a block and the CBS people should be a block. Wow. Imagine we don't go after each other. Well, imagine we don't get into mutually assured destruction between the two groups of, you took out one of ours, now we're going to hit one of yours. What if we looked at people in the big soft middle of randos? Like wouldn't that be something, at least to start the game when nobody knows what they're doing? Why go after? So I really wanted to be a person who had an olive branch to the housewives. And I said to Pooya, hey, I think we have a Michael Rappaport problem. And I wanted just to, like, her to be very aware of that. And she also is going to be very aware of Michael Rappaport. And I feel bad because in the car also, I think I really laid out the case why there was 4 traitors. And then Pooya then will repeat this as fact to Ron Funches. And then that ends up being one of the points against her at the round table. So I feel bad for that, but it was true.
Well, in not to come to your defense, but I feel like the bias against getting rid of Pooya was already in work with some of the slip ups she had.
No, I think that was one of the weaker pieces of evidence, but it was that there are 4 traitors was also something that I had said in my conversations with Portia and laid out why
So
I thought there were 4 traitors. And then
what was your argument for it?
I felt like that they had a secret traitor, and then I felt like that Alan picked 3 people, and then I felt like that 4 traitors. I thought 4 traitors met that first night.
Yeah, which I mean, off of season 3, that makes sense. There was 4.
That was my logic. I said, I don't know 100%, but I think that we should be operating under the idea there are 4 traitors.
Yeah. Okay, so Rob, you are doing this mission, which, by the way, it was very clear to me that you had, and please correct me if I'm wrong. You had put in the work fitness-wise. You did not miss a step doing this. At least that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That I was in the boat with Natalie Anderson, and Natalie. Listen, ideally, you would think you want to be in the boat with Natalie. And Natalie is they didn't even show you how much of a badass Natalie was in the job. Natalie gets out of the boat. She's in the water up to her waist. Like, the safety people, do not go in the water. The water, the water is freezing cold. Do not go in the water. Natalie is in spandex pants in the water up to her waist, pushing the boat. Natalie, though, did have a lot to say about all of our rowing technique in the boat. And there was a lot of she really was not happy with how Ian was rowing the boat. I did not escape Captain Natalie's boat rowing criticism. Lisa Rinna, I think, also got it. So Natalie, guys, come on, let's go. She kept telling me, Rob, use your legs. I was like, I don't know how to do that. I'm rowing a boat. How do I use my legs?
It's a great question.
I don't know. And she kept telling me, use your legs. I was like, wow. I did. And Ian had said to her, they were looking for people to go in the boat. And Rob R was also in the back of the boat. So her and Rob R, and actually Portia was actually really incredible in rowing the boat. It's one of those things, you got to put your back into it. And Portia was really, really, this was in her wheelhouse to row the boat. And Ian had said, "Oh yeah, my wife and I go rowing frequently." And so I was like, "Okay, great." So me and Ian were in the front, and I feel like that was not a great thing to say, because Natalie had a lot of pointers for Ian on his rowing technique, especially after he said that he frequently is rowing.
Yeah, I feel like I will never volunteer that information.
Yes, but Natalie is really incredible, and she also had a very shrewd move, some immersive gameplay of that. She ends up making a deal with one of the other teams to keep us safe, which ends up backfiring. But they double dipped. They double dipped. But it was an incredible thought, and what presence of mind by Natalie to do that. I felt like that in terms of the boats. In hindsight, I did not like how we had laid out the people in the boat in terms of, I thought wow, this is a mistake that we have me, Ian, Natalie, and Tiffany all in the same boat. We should have split up. There was not a lot of forethought ahead of that. And really then Jam Jam ends up being the only other person from CBS, and he's in another boat.
Which is interesting to me, because correct me if I'm wrong, Jam Jam's in the boat that y'all struck a deal with, right?
I believe so. I believe the green boat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do find it interesting that Jam Jam was also, from where the edit was showing, the advocate to be like, let's just make a deal with them also. And because the odds of one of you getting put in that coffin now is a lot higher. Because there's 4 of you in this boat of 8 people in the boat? 7?
Yeah. Yes.
Interesting.
I felt like from the 3 episodes you saw, I think that Jam Jam, and look, you could say oh wow, this is the ideal way to play the game. I think Jam Jam is going to prioritize self-preservation at any cost over any allegiances ever. Doesn't matter who the person is. Jam Jam, it will always, at whatever cost, prioritize his own benefit of self.
Which, fair. We talk about the faithful game being a game that is masked as a team game, but you still got to look out for number one.
Sure. And I think that there's a fine line between, anybody but me and always me.
Right. I think you need a healthy mix, especially because ultimately, with your like specifically with the Traitors US, specifically with these casts, if people are metagaming, you need as many people in your grouping there as long as possible, in my opinion, just so that you're not going to end up in a position where like, well, it could be you. Now there's a 1 in 3 chance. Now we're looking at you if we're looking in this breath. So I do feel like there's something to be said about that. But Rob, so you eventually come to see that you have a grave in your, or sorry, a coffin in your grave.
Yes. So the layout, and I'm sure you and Annabelle talked about this on the Traitors UK when they did the same challenge. There's 2 rows of graves, and they're in alphabetical order. And I feel like the show didn't really key in on this too much, but alphabetical order, and basically you come up into the graveyard. There's 1 aisle in the middle and 2 rows of the graves, with A in the far left corner and Z in the lower right corner. It's a good day to be a yam, as Michael Rappaport would say. Not such a great day to be a Rob C or a Rob R, where when you came back into the graveyard, the first 2 parking spots, really, we had the handicap spots of these were the most accessible parking spots for a grave. Now, Rob R, it turns out he doesn't care. Doesn't matter to him. No, nothing off his back to get a casket in his grave. But it was a less than ideal spot for your boy. It might have been interesting if you put the casket in the grave and you get a shield. Okay, I might have just ended up with a shield because like, okay, his thing's right here, boom. But just that flip of no, it's actually who is going to be marked for death. And I came up the first time after, obviously we put the first casket in. You see me talk about in the episode, like, shouldn't we talk this through? Like, shouldn't we, instead of just like, hey, let's just dump it wherever, poor Ron Funches, but I guess he did then say to put it in mine. It really was just like, Ron was just like, I'm sorry, Rob R was just like, put it wherever. Natalie is like, whatever, who cares? Let's go. I really would have loved to, at least as we were rowing back, let's talk about it. But I guess I did not bring up the conversation, but it did not seem like that the group really wanted to talk it through.
It's one of those things where I imagine in a very quick time crunch and you're trying to hustle and bustle to get back in the boat and go get more coffins, that this might not be a discussion to be had.
But it's hard also because then it's like, well, then who said my name? As Michael Rappaport will ask later, who said my name? Who said Michael, not Jackson, not Jordan? Who said Michael frickin' Rappaport? Shame.
I feel like we were robbed of an impression coming out at the round table is what I'm feeling right now. Just talking to you.
I don't think people needed more Michael Rappaport at the round table.
I think they would have been fine. Yeah, I think they were happy with the amount they had. So, Rob, once you see the other 8 people you're also shortlisted with, you already mentioned that Dorinda didn't seem too phased.
No.
And you've already mentioned that you also, as much as getting banished, you were not as, you weren't as certain of like murder being that big a worry.
Yes.
How worried were you with this?
Extremely worried at this point where I felt like that I saw my game flash before my eyes just in that instant where I felt like I did not feel very worried about a murder coming in. But then I felt like, okay, now I'm shortlisted. And I felt like there's probably at least a traitor who was here. And there probably is maybe 2 traitors who are here. And now it's like, okay, now it's what? Like maybe worst case 1 in 7, like best case 1 in 8 chance. And I feel like, I am kind of a juicy target sitting here. And I felt extremely concerned. We had to then take the dirt and then bury our own graves, and which went on for longer than you saw on the show. And we had to, do that. I, in this big pile of dirt, was convinced maybe there's a shield in here. And so maybe my survivor brain was thinking a little too much hidden immunity idol. But I was like going through the dirt, like trying to find, like, hey, is there a shield in here? There was not. It does turn out that not only is Rob R, but also Donna, the secret traitor. There are 2 traitors that are there in that group. So that night, it turns out I have a 1 in 7 chance of going home. And I really was extremely concerned. I just thought that there was, I was a very easy target to take out from the 7 people who ultimately were there. So I needed to pivot.
Okay.
And this ends up being, from what you saw on the show, the stuff with the murder in plain sight, that came off well on the show. But I really thought the thing that you were going to see was the thing that I was the most proud of from my game, where I felt like I was on the short list for murder and I didn't know what to do. And so I just really started to think about, like, how do I get out of this? A traitor himself, Dan Giesling once said, there's always a way out. And so in a moment of distress, as the sun was setting over the lock, I decided to, one, I said, I got to make sure I get some airtime here. I started mixing it up with Michael Rappaport. Michael Rappaport was hot already. And he was like, I just want to know who said my name. I just want to know who was the first person to say my name. Who was it? And I said, you know what, Michael, you're right. That was a dumb move to put a casket in your, because you're probably going to get banished. Why would the traitors even waste putting a casket in your grave? He's like, yeah, that's right. I'm like, yeah, because you're going to get banished anyway. That was stupid. He's like, whoever did it, like, that was a waste. And he was just getting more and more worked up over who put the casket in my grave. And I was in the car ride back with Ian and with Mark Ballas, who I also really came to love in the castle. And I felt very bad because Ian was in my boat, but Mark Ballas was somebody, when we came back, I think with the 3rd casket, it was like, put it somewhere. And the name that it was like, we went down the line, this person, no. And I think that Mark was on the end, and we put it in Mark Ballas's casket, or his grave. And I felt very bad about that because I felt responsible because I was one of the people who was the pallbearers and dropped it into the grave. And Mark Ballas is the nicest guy ever. And I did feel very badly about this. And so I was in the car with Ian and with Mark Ballas, and I said to them on the way back, like, a light bulb went off. I said, okay, I got it. I'm going to save us tonight. We're going to get the traitors to kill Michael Rappaport. He's tired. He's cranky. When he comes back to the castle, we're going to get him to crash out. He's going to go crazy. The traitors will want to kill him. And we'll tell people that obviously he's not a traitor. If we clear him as a faithful to everybody, if we can get everybody to believe Michael Rappaport is a faithful, the traitors will realize, okay, well, he's pointless as a distraction, and everybody knows he's a faithful. We might as well just kill him. And that was the plan. I felt like that if the traitors could, because there were not a lot of other options. Like, looking at the other people who the traitors could have killed, I looked at Donna Kelsey. Are the traitors going to kill Donna Kelsey? Are the traitors going to kill Eric Nam? I mean, we were sort of boxed in terms of who the traitors were going to kill anyway. But Michael Rappaport, I felt like he was so bombastic that I thought, and I had spoken with Boston Rob, and he told me, like, the reason why the traitors killed Dorinda in season 3 was she came back to the castle and she pissed everybody off. And Bob the drag queen was like, you know what? I've had it with Dorinda. She's the first person murdered. And so I thought that if we could get Michael Rappaport to go off at the castle, that we had a chance that the traitors would kill Michael Rappaport and we would all be safe. And lo and behold, we go back to and I'm telling everybody the story of Michael Rappaport. He's going crazy. He's trying to find out who said his name. He's like, who freaking said my name? I just want to know who was the person who said it. He's going crazy. He's not. He's so mad. And then at the same time, little did I, and now
Yeah.
you saw then in the episode also at the same time that Candace is also getting people worked up about Michael Rappaport, which I think, to be truth be told, I think that what happened with Candace ends up being much more of the reason why he ends up going off. But from my perspective, not having seen that, like, it's working, because I'm there in the kitchen, and this was my happiest moment in the castle, was that moment in the kitchen where I'm sitting at the table and I'm next to Portia. I'm in between Portia and Maura, and unfortunately, in the way that it's shown it's really, a lot of it is from the angle behind me, so you don't see me as much. But if you would have seen my face during this conversation, when Michael Rappaport is in the kitchen, Portia confronts Michael Rappaport, and Candace is like across from me at the table. And Portia wants to know from Michael Rappaport, why did you say, put it in a housewife's grave? And he was like, I never said that. I want to know who put the casket in my grave. And then Portia says, well, Candace said you did say it. And Candace said, no, that's not what I said. I didn't say that. And he did his whole thing about how, if I win it, I'm like one of the housewives. I can't believe that you would say that I would do that. If I took out a housewife, I wouldn't do it now. I would do it in the 9th inning. I would do it when the game was on the, like, well, why are you even saying that? And, but I was so tickled, because I felt like that I was in danger, and I felt like that, okay, I didn't go out like a chump. I got dealt bad cards, and I played the hand as good as I could, because I really felt like that. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I'm not just going to sit here and wait for the traitors to take me out. Like, and I have never really seen this, where a faithful is trying to get another faithful murdered by the traitors. I feel like this was something new. And I was really excited about that. And again, I was disappointed that wasn't part of the episode, because I feel like coming away from this, I had a self-satisfaction of, hey, I may wake up dead tomorrow morning. I may go in that room and get my letter, and I'll be dead. But you know what? I went out swinging, and that was really, really important to me. And I got some incredible advice from our friend Annabelle before I went to go play on the Traitors. And she had certainly like a lot of like specific things, but the thing that she said, and I have my notes and my bind. I have this whole binder and all these papers and everything, and I would go over this every single day. And I don't want to misquote her, so let me see if I could
I think I know which one it is, but I'm excited to hear it.
So I don't know, because it's not super game specific. But what she said to me, and I have my all of my printouts from this. I have a 3-ring binder, and this is my daily mindset. Okay, this is for Annabelle. She said, "Have fun and leave nothing on the table. You can't game it. There's too much luck involved. You could be murdered night 1 for no good reason. So don't leave regretting that you hid your light," was what she said to me. I talked to Boston Rob also before I went to go play, and he said, "Hey, Cesternino, don't talk. Be quiet. Don't say anything to anybody. Talk in the confessionals. That's it." And that's good advice. It really is. And I appreciate Boston Rob so much. But to me, the idea of going there and going out of the game and not and leaving something in that I could have put out there, that was the worst case scenario for me. And I felt like really proud that I went to bed that night like, hey, Like I don't know what's gonna happen in the morning, but like I felt like I gave the traitors hell, and that was really really important to me, and that was like the something that I appreciate Annabelle so much, and it's something that I've really tried to take with me into my life from this experience of you could go out, you know, at any point for any reason. Nobody's guaranteed anything, but don't leave with your light still inside you. And I love Annabelle so much, and I will always carry that with me. And I just felt like that that night I was in. I was really down about I'm on the short list. This isn't what I wanted. Like, this is a horrible break. I feel like I'm in such dire straits, but hey, like I can't, like I didn't just lay down and die for the traitors. And I went to bed, and like I looked at Mark and I said, "Oh, look, did it work? I don't know." I looked at Ian, and but Ian was so confident that it was going to be him. He really, I don't know how he knew, but he knew. And I love Ian so much, but he was so upset that and he was so confident that the traitors were going. And I even said to Ian too, that I said, Ian, I think that people are looking at you maybe at the round table. Like let's get through this night, and we'll figure out in the morning, like, how you're going to get through the round table. And no, he's like, no, it's gonna be me. I'm gonna be like, Dorinda and Johnny Bananas. And I said, no, you don't know that. You don't know that. But I don't know. He knew. He knew.
It is very interesting. The first murdered of the US franchise, I feel like every single one of them iconic for their own reasons from their franchises to be the
Mhm.
first one out. First of all, Rob, I am so thankful that we get to hear this story from you and hear what you were doing behind the scenes, because it's and Annabelle, this was the exact quote I thought you were about to read from Annabelle, because she's talked to me about that before as
Yeah.
well. And like, it really, really is a show that there's so much variance, so much luck involved that you never know. And the last thing you want is to leave without having done anything. And I do love the idea of, hey, if you're gonna make the mistake of trying to murder me, trying to get me out, I'm gonna make sure you suffer for it. And I like that you sowed some seeds, and you know, literally gave us, had a hand in. Let's not give you all the credit, because Candace also did her part, but
Yes.
really put a hand in making the first blow up of the season happen.
Yeah. And it is a ridiculously random game. I might have
Mm-hmm.
done that and put myself into more danger
For
because
all you know.
of the way
Yeah.
that I was at. And I might have been safe and could have made myself unsafe from doing it, but I just didn't want to not do something. Like
Yeah.
my worst case scenario was to have left with something left unsaid or undone, or to have not played I was gonna say play a card, but like it ends up being not let's not talk about cards, because it doesn't end up like bad. Cards end up being a big part of why I go home. But I had read a book by Annie Duke also before I left, and I'm trying to remember what the name of it. Thinking in Bets is the name of the book. And Annie Duke, if you don't know who she is, she's a very famous poker player. She was on the Celebrity Apprentice in the second season and had a huge rivalry with Joan Rivers. And she writes so many great books now. And she talks about like Thinking in Bets. She's a retired poker player, but you can get good cards and play them poorly, and you could get bad cards and play them well, and neither one is guaranteed to like assure you victory. And just
Mm-hmm.
because you got you had good cards and played them poorly and you won, it doesn't make you a good player. And really, I just wanted to play the hand I was dealt as well as I could have. And I took a lot from that. It was only a couple days that I was there, but it was so emotional overall. I'm not the most spiritual person, but you have a lot of downtime in your room, and especially in the days leading up to the game. And I felt like I was closer with my father during that time than at any point, since he passed away, which is now going to be 15 years later on this year. And he would have been so excited to have this. He was so sad when I lost on Survivor All Stars, and he always wanted me to get another chance to go and play on Survivor. And I think he really was bummed out about how it all worked out on Survivor All Stars, and he would have been so excited about this. And I felt like that. I think in a lot of different ways, in terms of like all of the luck that I've had in my career, that I definitely feel like that my dad is looking out for me in a lot of different ways. And I had a necklace, and I had a pendant of his, and I was just like, I had his pendant, and I was talking to him, and I don't know if he had anything to do with keeping me safe, at least through that night. But I felt like that, I just felt like really locked into as much as I've ever been in my life. And to have come through that first night, and look, ultimately, I'm not even on the short list. That when Donna makes her list of people, I'm not, again, I thought I had a good thing going with Donna Kelsey, where every time that she was around, I tried to talk to her. I tried to help her in challenges as much as I could. She was in my first car. I tried to always like check back in with her. So maybe she kept me safe on that first night. But I just, it was a very emotional night that I had somehow through to get through being marked for death and then coming through it. And then I was so disappointed when I got to breakfast and Ian wasn't there.
First of all, Rob, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I really do appreciate it. And I feel like it's very cool to not only see that side of you, but also understand the experience you went through. And it's one of those things where I don't think a lot of people think about stuff like that. So I'm very happy to have you present that to us. And I've definitely heard through exit interviews and stuff before about how tough the downtime is with the Traitors, because you are going into this game. It's psychological. You have no information to go off of. A lot of it is just instinct and a little bit of luck and a little bit of overreading. And then you just got to, go to bed and hope that you're there the next day to put together the stuff you found.
Yeah. I will also add that this was June 15th, which was also Father's Day that year. So I also felt like it's Father's Day and I'm not with my family, but like I was thinking a lot about my dad that day, but it's also I'm marked for murder. And so it was a very tense night that it was an emotional night for me.
Well, thankfully, it wasn't the final one.
Nope.
You made it in. You enter breakfast, which, by the way, this is the part where I get a little silly with you. How was the breakfast? I must know.
It was remarkably mid.
Okay. What did you grab? I didn't pay attention to what you were eating.
I really did not want to eat a lot in these like I want to talk, and I only went to one breakfast, and I ended up being very late in terms of the arrivals at the breakfast. And so I think I had a hard-boiled egg, and I think I had maybe half a croissant, but it's not. In some of these other seasons, you see like pancakes and waffles and bacon, and there's more of a hot breakfast there. A lot of hard-boiled eggs, a lot of charcuterie. Maybe I think you could have seen some salmon. Croissants are on point.
I'm messing with a croissant, but okay. I mean, just about what I expected then.
Yeah. You want some turkey on a croissant with a hard-boiled egg? You're in luck.
And was the coffee fine? Did you coffee or did you not coffee?
I think I must have had some coffee. I don't remember it being, remarkable in one way or the other. There's a
Okay.
lot going on,
Well,
Pooya.
yeah, no doubt. And we're about to
Yeah.
get into that. So you get in, you
Yeah.
sit down, you're like, all right, well, I'm happy to see all these familiar faces
Yeah.
again. That's lovely. One thing that does stand out and does
Yes.
get shown to us is this moment you have with Jam Jam, where Jam Jam goes, Rob, I thought you were going to be dead today.
Yeah, I clocked that as being unusual and odd.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know why Jam Jam called that out like that. Of like, like I definitely thought it was gonna be you. Of course, why not? Why wouldn't they kill you? And I didn't appreciate that he also said that I wasn't talking to anybody and I was like a mute. Has anybody ever characterized me as like a mute?
If there's anything I would describe you as, quiet and silent
Yeah.
is not one of them.
Yeah. And so I thought that was odd that he seemed like even more. I thought, and I could go back to my notebook of who I thought the traitors were going to murder. I think I had written out the probabilities of like, in terms of like, if I was, because again, you have downtime, you have nothing to do. So I think I was like, okay, let me try to make myself feel better. And let me give you the odds of who I thought the traitors were going to murder that night. And let me see. This is let me see if I can find, you know, maybe I did it on a different piece of paper that wasn't in my notebook. But I felt like that I had like, maybe there was like a 10 to 20% chance that I was going to be the person murdered. I really thought it was like 40-50% that Michael Rappaport was going to go. I felt like that I thought there were just so many outs where Michael Rappaport I felt like that, okay, maybe somebody's trying to frame Portia or Candace after he got into the big fight with them. Maybe Michael Rappaport pissed somebody off. Like maybe Michael Rappaport was, you know, there was a lot of different scenarios I could have envisioned where now ultimately the way that it played out, where that Candace, who is a traitor, probably would have been looked at as one of the top suspects but if somebody was trying to frame Portia or Candace, that Michael Rappaport would have been a great murder on that first night of like, okay, they just got into a big public fight. And so kill Michael Rappaport, and which again, was not what I was hoping. Like when I thought of like, hey, well, let's clear Michael Rappaport as a faithful so that the traitors will murder him. That was not where I anticipated it going, but it ended up being a viable scenario that I thought could have happened. That being said, I didn't think it was super likely that Ian was going to like, I kind of thought that maybe the traitors would go with maybe even like an Eric as sort of like wait, why Eric? Like it would have been something that like nobody would have been able to trace it back to anybody. So I thought that there was, I thought there was maybe like at the point that I went to bed, I thought maybe it was like 15-20%, but Jam Jam seemed so convinced that it was going to be me. Now look, that two gamers end up being the first two murders, so maybe Jam Jam is ultimately right about this, but I didn't like that he was really calling attention to the fact that, of course, why wouldn't they murder you? You are the most, like, obviously the person that they should be murdering.
Yeah, because I think on one hand, because I was trying to like figure out why in your confessional right after that you felt like that was weird. Yes. Because I thought it could just be an ad lib, but two things can come out of that, right? Either you are trying to make people feel weird about me coming to breakfast now next time because Rob could be a traitor, or Rob should be dying. If he's not dying, he's a traitor. Or secondary, you're putting an idea in the traitors' heads of like, Rob's a good candidate to take out.
Why are we talking about this? Why are we making this into a thing?
Yeah.
And listen, so I think that the reason why it's in the show is I think that the show is trying to give you other candidates for the secret traitor. I think that you see a few different people, even Rob R, be suspicious of Jam Jam as a traitor. So I think that they were trying to build him up as another candidate that could have been the secret traitor. But there were the reason why I said what I did was that there were a number of times that I had interactions with Jam Jam where I was left to ask myself, why are you being like this? Where there were multiple times when out of nowhere, he would start just telling people, did you know Rob? Oh, he is such a mastermind of Survivor. He knows everything. He's like, and I really felt like that I had a threat level that I didn't think was incredibly huge coming into
Yeah.
the game. And I really felt like that at every opportunity, Jam Jam, unprompted, would just start telling people about how I know everything about Survivor. I'm such a mastermind of Survivor. I've played the greatest Survivor game ever. My podcast is incredibly renowned because of all of my strategic takes for no things that I would have never brought up to people. And
Right.
I never confronted him about this in terms of, because I know he's very sensitive, and I didn't want to make it a thing with him, but he brought it up constantly to people, and I didn't really understand why. I have a lot of theories about ultimately why. I think that maybe he was thinking that I could be a traitor who is like thinking that there was going to be, it's just like I began to think that Jam Jam was a traitor after the
Yeah.
way that he was constantly throwing me under the bus. Maybe he felt like that he wanted to be a traitor, and that maybe he thought that they were going to give it to me but I never wanted to be a traitor. And maybe he felt like that if the traders are going to be coming for one of the gamers, better him than me again,
Right.
which I guess is certainly like a valid strategy. But I was much more thinking about how do we keep our numbers as opposed to how do I kick somebody. I didn't want Jam Jam to go home because I felt like that, hey, if they're going to look for somebody to banish at the round table to go after, I felt like I need the only other male survivor player, especially now that Ian is gone. I need the other male survivor player in the game. So I didn't know why he was seeming to me. It felt like that he was throwing me under the bus very hard, and I didn't really know why.
Yeah, because in the context of because like getting big upped by people is a compliment. It's nice. It feels good in a lot of settings. Not in this one, especially when you're trying to keep all these things hidden, or you're not trying to have the spotlight on you, positive or negative. This is a very tough thing to have happen. And to your point, I also see why you wouldn't want to bring it up. Like, hey, can you cut this out? Because you don't want this to be like a feud or even like a thing that then he tells somebody else or someone else overhears. Like, you're just not trying to make it a bigger
Yeah,
thing that it's
he can
already
be a
feeling.
prickly personality. I didn't want to, leave him with a bad taste in his mouth where I said like, hey, can you like stop bringing that up to people? But it was something that came up again and again. And I felt like, hey, I'm trying to work keep I want all the gamers to work together here. Like,
Right.
don't be like this.
Yeah, and I mean that's already going to be hard for you coming
Mhm.
in, having a cold croissant, and then Ian's left, and the
And
only other male
yeah,
gamer here
and
is talking like this.
but Ian's murder did get me a little suspicious of some of the other people that were in the gamer crew. Now, one, I felt like that
Okay.
to me, Ian's death instantly cleared Tiffany. I felt like there
Okay.
was no
Yeah.
way that Tiffany was going to murder Ian. She
Be
get
the only Big
and
Brother person.
Tiffany and I were the two people that were the most upset about Ian going home. She knew I wouldn't have killed Ian, and I knew she wouldn't have murdered Ian. I
Yeah.
did think about, boy, Natalie really did not like how Ian rode the boat. I did think about that. I did think about that for a minute, but then the way that Jam Jam like really just like very publicly like talked about how, oh, I would have been such a logical person to murder last night. I did get to start thinking, and I felt like that Jam Jam did not really have any connection to Ian.
Mhm.
And I did start to think about like, if it's going to be a gamer, who would want to do it? Certainly Jam Jam would love to be the star of the show. He has no connection to Ian. I think that he could
Mhm.
also think that like, okay, we got rid of one of the gamers. Great. Now that sort of clears the gamers, because why would a traitor take out one of the gamers?
Immediately. Yeah.
And so I did really start to suspect that it could be Jam Jam.
So, start of this day, Jam Jam has put himself firmly on your list. Who are some other people that were on your list by that point?
So Mora was still somebody that I was thinking about. Dorinda was also somebody I was thinking about. I could go back to my notes and think about. I was really starting to just think about like the people that definitely could be traitors. Like I really just didn't want to lock in on people, and I think that that's a mistake that people make of just locking in way too hard on the people that, you know, oh, it's definitely that person. I really just wanted to gather evidence and data points on all the different players. And I had in my room, I had like index cards of everybody. And I was really like marking off, like, do I think that they're a traitor? Do I think that they're not a traitor? So I had like possibilities of people. Steven was somebody who I thought it could have been, because Steven was just very, very quiet. Like I really felt like that he was a little bit giving me Dan Giesling in terms of that he was just like, I thought like the Iceman. He had almost no reaction to things. He was certainly like very friendly and chatty, but I just felt like was not giving a lot. I did not suspect Rob Roush. I thought that Rob Roush was somebody who he seemed like he was totally checked out, that he was eating Oreos by himself, like just
Oreos.
Like, yeah, he was like, I mean, this was an older cast. He's the youngest person there. He's 27. But at times it felt like that he was even younger than that, in that, you know, he's like off just like eating snacks by himself. And it did not feel to me at all like he's somebody who was really working behind the scenes and, you know, being a traitor.
That's interesting. You mentioned earlier that Donna Kelsey got like very quiet from when you were in the starting car versus later on. Was she on your radar at all, or did you just chalk that up to maybe she's not vibing with the cast?
I didn't really see too much about Donna Kelsey until later on in the afternoon on this day. This day was a year for me in terms of like waking up in the morning, going to breakfast, Ian is dead, and now I'm trying to like piece this together. But I had some good conversations with Donna. Donna had said to me, like, hey, you need to go talk to Ron Funches today. Ron has some very interesting information for you. And so I said, okay, great. I will go, Donna, I will go speak with Ron Funches.
And you do. You end up doing that. How did you feel about what information was dispelled to you?
So I ended up talking to Ron. I'm trying to remember if it was before the mission or after the mission. I think I ended up talking to Ron Funches after the mission, but ultimately he is going to give me the lowdown on Portia, and he's going to say like, I heard Portia. She said I killed Ian, and I said, yeah, I don't know about that, because to me, I don't feel like the Freudian slip is typically what does in the Traitors. I don't think that that is often. I know certainly in Australia, in Annabelle season, the traitor who was an actress, she did say like, oh, us traitors or blah, 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 blah. But I think that 95% of the time when it's like, oh, that person misspoke, they just misspoke.
Yeah.
And you even see it at the round table where Michael Rappaport says, okay, so last night we killed Ian, right? And it was like, whoa. But it was just, I think, damning for Portia, who was not precise with her words and also not precise with her defense at the round table. But I said to Ron Funches, like, hey, let Michael Rappaport take the lead. I really was trying to build consensus with people. Michael Rappaport is not a traitor. And I to me, I did not think that this would be something that would ruffle feathers. In hindsight, I see how it did. I see how it was like, okay, wow, he is right about that. But I had conversations with Lisa, Candace, and Rob R., all three of them, about how, hey, I'm telling you, Michael Rappaport is not a traitor. I would have never, I guess I ended up with Candace a little bit, but my game plan was never to go to a traitor and I never wanted to make a traitor feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But I felt like that talking about how somebody was a faithful to me did not seem like it was something that could have really gotten me in trouble. I talked to Lisa Rinna at one point, and you see me even in the episode with Candace, and she's like, and Candace said to me the same thing. She said, but he's an actor. I was like, is he this good of an actor? Is he next level, Candace? And she's like, he could be. And I give her a look. And I'd love to, I think that look also, I'd like that to be a GIF, or at least a meme.
We'll go back and get it.
When I send you this, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Nicole was like, I know that look. I don't like that look. I know that look. And I don't like that look. But I said to Lisa Rinna, where I said, Lisa, but listen, Michael. You're around him all the time, or you know him from Bravo. Like, is this how he is all the time, or do you think that he could be a traitor? And she's like, listen, he is a very good actor. I said, Lisa, is he a 24/7 method actor? Like, how could this be an act? She's like,
it's so funny.
Good. He's a very good actor.
It's so funny to me because I do think it's as everything is with the traitors, it's such a double-edged sword, right? Because on one hand, you are telling them, hey, I don't think this person's a traitor, which to what you were working on should tell the traitors, no one's going to buy this person's a traitor. Let's just boot him. He's just being he's not helping us.
And, listen, for my money, I was entertained when I was there with Michael Rappaport. So, like, I have a higher tolerance than most for the antics of people that, like, I think that it's one of my superpowers where I could be in a room with a person and get a lot of entertainment from things that might put other people over the edge.
You're comfortable in discomfort.
I sometimes I am like I think you should leave. Like, a cringe comedy is like cracks me up. So I have a high threshold for this. So I was always entertained anytime Michael Rappaport was in the room. But my case was like, he's holding us back. Like, we should, I don't think he's a traitor. And I also think that we should vote for him. And I think that might have been one, like, people were like, but why would we vote for him if he's not a traitor?
Right.
And then two, I feel like that it did, like, make the traitors say, okay, this guy is putting some things together. I didn't want to ever spook the traitors, and I didn't think saying Michael Rappaport is not a traitor would necessarily, bad on me. Like, bad on me. I would have been better off telling everybody Michael Rappaport is a traitor.
As long as it didn't get back to him, because the last thing you would have wanted is to be, I guess, no, low key. No, they could have tried to use it to frame you. I'm trying to figure out if you have it in public.
Ultimately, what happened to me is I got shortlisted for murder because Donna Kelsey is trying to frame Michael Rappaport for killing me. So it wouldn't have mattered ultimately anyway, except that maybe the traitors might not have been like as eager to pull the trigger. But I mean, the reason why I end up on the short list is because I end up voting for Michael Rappaport. And I think that Donna is like, okay, well, I got to make it look like Michael Rappaport is the traitor. So who would he want to go for? And Jam Jam has a shield. And so that's why I think I'm on Donna's short list.
Which is a very interesting thing because you're literally telling us about how much you are telling everyone he is a faithful. He is a faithful. So how are they going to pin you just off of the vote?
How dare are you implying Donna Kelsey wasn't a good traitor, Pooya?
Yes. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was so nice to Donna Kelsey. I was so kind to her. I helped her in every single challenge.
Yeah, I mean, there were specific moments, Rob, because I was watching this and I had it in my head from the minute
blood.
I got an edit of that as well. I will send it to you. Someone sent that to me. From when the cast got released, I was like, Donna Kelsey's a traitor. Surely Donna Kelsey's a traitor. Yeah. And then on the show, when she wasn't in the starting trailers, I was like, she's our secret traitor. And the way I saw you talk to her in moments, you were very complimentary. Even after this round two, you're like, Donna, you did such a good job defending yourself. I felt like To me, it read like,
She actually didn't, but I did like.
yeah, I felt like you were
but
very.
I was. She was fine. She was fine. She
Mhm.
wasn't like overly friendly. She wasn't like really putting herself out there. That first night that we were in the car, like she actually was very warm. I don't think she wanted to be a traitor. I think she got the secret traitor card, and I don't think that, it was random of like who was going to get it. I don't think she again, we don't know necessarily, because I think that like when you sit down with Alan, she was already a traitor. So I don't know like if she wanted to be a traitor or not, but I get the sense just like looking back that I don't think that she really wanted to be a traitor. And then she kind of got stuck with this role that I don't think she really wanted. And I think she felt like, hey, I'm America's mom. Do I really want to come in and be a traitor? And I think that then she was sort of like forced into a role that she wasn't super comfortable with. And I think that people keyed on to that. And I think that one of the things that was talked about a lot in the castle was that all of a sudden she shows up, and this has been memed to Kingdom Come, and it's a great image of Donna Kelsey with the sunglasses on, like in the castle, and people are like, why is she wearing sunglasses now? And I actually brought that up at the round table, that I know that people, because I wanted to speak at the round table. I didn't want to be super quiet at the round table. And I said, Donna, one of the things that people have been saying about you is that you are wearing sunglasses now all of a sudden indoors in the castle. And that seemed unusual. I want to give you the chance to address that. And she said, yeah, I lost my whatever glasses. And she explained it, and people like, okay. But she was very deflective at the round table, where Candace brought things up about Donna, and she's like, I think that that's a very good thing to say if you were a traitor. And she was. I mean, she ate with that. But I think if anybody who would have said something to Donna, I think I think that's exactly what, maybe because you're a traitor.
Yeah, the more and more we've sat with this, the more I'm like, she would have benefited as a trader with a team to work with and bond with, versus being the lone wolf trader, which is,
yeah,
it's a lot.
I have to be honest, I didn't see it. I thought that people were just like looking like, okay, well, she would be perfect. And I think that that's, I'm not sure if this is in the episode or not, but in that conversation where we're talking, and I said to Donna, I said, but Donna, I think that the reason why so many people are looking at you is because it would be the perfect cover for America's Mom. Here she is. Now she's a traitor. And I think that that's why they're looking at you, and you did a good job tonight. And I really just wanted to make her feel better in that moment. But I personally felt like, you know what? I think everybody's maybe being too hard on Donna. And so in some ways, maybe I got saved from being an even bigger dummy, because I had so many plans for what I was going to do in the castle the day that I got my letter. And one of them was Operation Save America's Mom. I was going to sit down in the confessional, and I was going to say, listen, America's mom is in trouble, and there's only one man that can save her, and that's me. And I was gonna really try to help out Donna Kelsey, and I thought she was getting a raw deal. I didn't really see it. Again, she was just very checked out, and I thought that maybe people were just giving her a hard time. And because she was kind of frozen out also, where then the only people she was really interacting with were Ron Funches, who was also a pariah now at that point, and Michael Rappaport. And like Caroline was saying, like, okay, the traitors are Donna, Ron, and Michael. I'm like, the three traitors aren't just like hanging out together in plain sight all day long. Like that doesn't happen. And if anything, it's almost like the traitors, you never see them together. You should look for people who never you see in the same room. But that being said, I really was going to go to bat for Donna. And I would have looked incredibly foolish, like had that happen, and probably would have like run myself out of the game after I tried to save Donna. And then she's instantly found out to be a traitor. And then I look incredibly bad. So listen, it's not like I knew everything that was going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to, right? Again, there's like 20 some people, and you are one person. You can't be split into like multiple people and be in different rooms at the same time. So
and just like I was joking about bad blood with Donna Kelsey.
Of course,
Donna's doing the best that she could. I think that I think in over her head. I think that they took 74-year-old Donna Kelsey, who's a very smart woman, but this is incredible that she was even there. So, I don't want to like shade Donna Kelsey too much. And she I'm sure she tried her best, but this was not her thing.
No, it's a tough hand to be dealt, especially again if you are not coming from a place where you know how to wield that. It's a lot of power to hold. So, Rob, so we have the second mission.
Yeah.
There are only 3 people that are going to end up being safe for the day from this.
Yes.
Is there any standout moment from this mission that you would like to share with us?
So I'd love to just talk a little bit about the end of the mission with the Jam Michael Rappaport of it all.
Please.
Because that was like even bigger deal than it was on the show. And they went back and forth for like 30 minutes before we ultimately went into the castle. And Jam and Mora were very, very close friends. And they were always like hugging and being like, oh, bestie. And they were just like, they were very, very close. And then I personally, and you see in the car where I'm in the car, it's me, Jam, Lisa Rinna, and Tara Lipinski. And Jam is like he's like, hey, today I'm going to go for the shield. I was like, you are? He's like, yeah, I need a shield. And I was like, okay. I just felt like the way that I play, and again, listen, nobody needed the shield more than me ultimately. And listen, and credit to Jam, like had he not gotten the shield, he might have also been in Donna Kelsey's short list of people who that it is possible that he ends up being the person who murdered. So I can't begrudge him too much, but I was never going to go for a shield in a way that was going to upset the group. Unless it was sort of like really dire circumstances. And just in terms of like playing the percentages here, 22 people in the game. I felt like that the traitors had their chance to murder me last night. They didn't. I might have had a false sense of security coming into this day. Again, I don't know how the secret traitor twist works.
Right.
I don't know if I'm on the short list. Do the traitors murder me the first night? I don't know. I think Candace would have vouched for me and said, don't murder him that first night, but I don't know. So, but I felt like with 22 people, like there's only 3 shields. Like, what do I want to like piss everybody off and go for, especially in the way that you had to do it, where you kick somebody out of the chair. And now I had not seen the Mora and Jam back and forth in the real time. I only saw the fallout from it, but I felt like that. Wow, Jam and Mora are so close. Also in the car ride, Jam was like really talking up to Lisa Rinna how impressive my podcast network was. Which I appreciate the shout out, but that he went to Mora and he got into this big fight with Mora over the shield, and they were like super close friends. And I remembered from in Survivor 44 that there were stories that like, oh, him and Carolyn were going to have a fake fight at Tribal Council to throw off, to throw off Sarah Wade so they could vote her out. But then the fake fight turned into a real fight. And I thought like, oh, okay, well, here's Jam with like this, like, he's really fighting with Mora? Like, I thought they're like best friends. And now they get into a fight with Mora so he could get the shield. Like, why is he going so hard aggressively for the shield? And it just, the whole thing like didn't sit right with me. It felt odd. I don't know if it came across odd to anybody else. Certainly came across odd to Michael Rappaport, but then him and Michael Rappaport were going back and forth. Jam was very upset. Michael Rappaport was very upset. And then Jam was very much on the Michael Rappaport is a traitor bandwagon from that point. And I'm like, no, he's not. Like, Michael Rappaport is not a traitor. Michael Rappaport is not a traitor. Now, I'll vote for him, but but Michael Rappaport is not a traitor. And the more anybody that was trying to tell me Michael Rappaport is a traitor was getting more and more on my radar. And Jam was adamant, Michael Rappaport is a traitor. He is clearly a traitor. And it's like, he's not.
Yeah, I feel like especially if you know logically that can't be the case. It'll seem more
Mhm.
and more suspicious if someone's pushing that narrative.
But that being said, and I was talking to Tiffany about this, and she also was feeling like very much that Jam Jam is a traitor, and she will talk about that with Michael. You see in the third episode
Mhm.
where I felt like that Jam Jam is a traitor is great news. Like I feel like, okay, Jam Jam is a traitor, and this is like, okay, but I also like Jam Jam is a traitor, but also like Jam Jam, thank you for keeping me safe last night. Like, thank you for, and
Right.
maybe he's like making a like, oh, of course, if I was a traitor, like you'd obviously be the person to kill. So in my mind, I also thought like, hey, like Jam Jam's a traitor, but he's also keeping me safe. So I really and he's trying to like, sure, if any survivor gets banished, he wants it to be me, but he saw Carolyn last season. He obviously wants to be a traitor, so he's a traitor. But this is a good thing because he is going to be my traitor angel, and it will be keeping me safe for a little while. So I had some comfort in thinking that Jam Jam was a traitor.
So then in the post mission era, you mentioned that this is when Ron tips you in on the Portia stuff, and you're not really looking that way.
Yes, and as I said to Ron, hey, let Michael Rappaport take the lead. And so this is really the first time that people are starting to talk to me about the Donna Kelsey of it all. And I was asking Lisa Rinna, like, what are you hearing? And she said, yeah, the two names I'm hearing are either Michael or Lisa. Sorry, Michael or Donna are the two names that I'm hearing. I'm starting to hear like Caroline, Colton, like everybody's talking about Donna all of a sudden. Now, I would prefer to vote for Michael. And I talked to Jam Jam. He's like, definitely, Michael is a traitor. We have to vote him off. Like, okay, fine, whatever. I talked to Natalie, and she's like, yes, she's like, I'm hearing Donna, I'm hearing Michael. And I said, okay, Natalie, what do you want to, like, what's your preference? She's like, my preference is Michael. She voted for Donna. So I felt like that, let's see how the roundtable goes. I knew that three people, I knew that Michael and Donna and Ron had all said to me they were voting for Portia. But I'm like, the three most disconnected people in the castle, they do not have any pull.
Right.
They'll vote for Donna, but the rest of us are deciding between Michael and that it's going to be Donna.
So you get to the round table.
Yes.
You're like, this is the scenario you're seeing. There's three names. One of them doesn't matter. It's between two people. Yeah. And this is to me still the most Brant Steele thing that has ever happened on a show that actually happened.
Yeah.
Ron Funches convinces the round table and leads the charge. At least that's how it's seen.
Ron Funches, first off, is an incredible comedian. I love Ron Funches. I really enjoyed my time with him in the castle, and he's just has an incredible career. And I'm really very high on Ron. Ron, who had been very quiet. At times I'd ask him, like, are you having fun, Ron? He's like, yeah, I'm having a great time. I was like, okay, you just seem like you're not that into it. He's like, no, this is just how I am. And I asked Ron about, he even seemed like it didn't matter to him too much that the casket got put into his grave. He seems like very like, Alan had asked like, Ron, how do you feel about the casket? He's like, we're all going to die one day. Was his answer. I was like, oh, that's also like very, doesn't seem like he's like ready to play so effing hard. But at the round table, he opened up and he said, I haven't talked much, but I've listened to all of you, and I have some very important things to say, and I would appreciate it if all of you would just listen to me and not interrupt me. And he laid out his case, and people were like, wow, I didn't know Ron had that in him. And of course, he's an incredible stand-up comedian and great performer. So of course he has that in him, but he laid out his case. And I think that there was a couple things that went into that. One, I think that there were some people that were on the fence on, do I want to piss off the Swifties? And so I think that there were some Donna votes that looked for an off-ramp. When the Portia name came out, they're like, I don't have to vote for Donna. The Swifties won't be coming for me. I think that there's a couple of people that took that off ramp and just jumped on the Portia bandwagon as soon as there was. I think that maybe there's a couple people that were like, Ron's evidence was compelling, even though I did not personally, I loved Pooya. I did not get that Pooya was a traitor. And then I also think that the traitors also jumped on board. You see Rob R. You see Lisa also jumping on board. They're pretty sure Portia's not a traitor. They're going to jump on that bandwagon and go with people. Okay, we could hide our votes with people and potentially get out somebody who is not really one of the traitors. So I think that a lot went wrong for Pooya at that round table. And Pooya didn't have a great defense either. She was a little like word salady in terms of how she was trying to defend her case.
I think it's extremely hard to ask someone to defend something that they probably don't remember saying, because to them in the moment did not,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't think they misspoke. They didn't think they said I instead of they or something like that. It's probably going to be difficult.
Pooya, that her defense, which obviously is cut down for the show, she was trying to say like, oh, that I don't remember if I said that or not, but Tara Lipinski said something that was also bad about me. So I think she alienated Tara Lipinski, and Tara Lipinski's like, wait, why is she saying my name? She must be a traitor. And so I think that like Pooya just started throwing out other people's names in defending herself, as opposed to like, no, I did not do this. This is why, like, I am clearly a faithful, as opposed to, she just like was talking about like what other people were doing.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel like a defense where you throw someone else's name out is only worse than anything.
But Pooya, this is the thing that something else that has bothered me since then is I voted wrong. I voted for Michael, and I was sure in the room Michael was going to get voted out. You saw like a little bit of it in the room where every single person around the round table was like, oh my God, come on. Monet is like, please, not now, Michael. I'm like, we're losing the plot. You saw Eric Nam is like, you keep doing this. You are taking us off the scent constantly. What does it matter? And you saw this at this round table. You see it even more at the next round table where he's like, write my freaking name down. I'll stand up there. I don't even care. I'll go home. Like to me, I got the sense like I felt like he was quitting. I felt like he was like, fine, write my name down. I don't care. I'll leave right now. And I really felt like that, and especially it was towards the end of the conversation where Boston Rob had said, like, usually whatever's the last thing that people talk about is like what ends up happening. And that was sort of like the later part of that conversation was Michael Rappaport like unraveling in front of everybody. And I felt like, okay, this is it. Michael's done. Okay, I'm writing down Michael. He's going home. I don't think anybody's buying this Pooya story. And I really thought as the votes person, I was upset with myself. I wasn't even on this person who came in second. I always wanted to be in the numbers. So, and then ultimately, because I voted wrong, like it's part of the reason why I go home. So it's one of the things that I've been upset with myself about, of like, how did I, the vote person, get this so wrong? And I really have thought about it a lot. And I don't know if it's just like there were, some people that were just locked in one way or another, or then convinced at the last minute. But like Michael came in third.
I think that what you saw in front of you was a complete meltdown. And if I was in your shoes, I would have done the same. Because to me, the argument of, hey, Pooya said some things, misspoke. The difference is this man did it in front of all of you just now in person.
Yeah.
And he was kicking off a lot of chaos, and a lot of people were telling him off. So I'm like, if I'm you, I'm like, yeah, I feel good about this. I think the other thing that you had was you had this close relationship with Pooya, and you also were told ahead of time that this is a thing. This is the person we're looking at. And you were like, well, this doesn't even matter to me.
I knew from the day before that these three were trying to get Pooya voted out. And the thing to me, though, and I wish I could have said this at the round table, is like, hey, I don't know if Portia's a traitor. I don't know if Donna is a traitor, but I'll tell you one thing right now. We vote out Michael tonight. It's a win-win. And I said it when I voted for him. I said, Michael, you're either the boldest traitor this game has ever seen, or you're somebody who's holding us back from having productive conversations here. And
Mhm.
either way, you need to go. And that to me was such a win for the faithful to take out Michael Rappaport. And I was disappointed that more people didn't see it that way.
I think that the allure to a cast always is if we can get a traitor right out the gate, we've cooked here.
Mhm.
And I think that the problem is that, to your point, they don't more people are in the camp of you are getting in the way of us having productive conversations, but we think we found a traitor. So let's get the traitor out. And to
Mhm.
your point, potentially some people jumped off of the Donna thing to jump on Portia. We see in the next episode, they immediately take Donna out anyway.
Yeah.
Where I think there's always this allure of like, but I'm looking for the dopamine of getting a traitor out more so than, using my first shot to take out a faithful
But-
that is not being helpful.
I felt like, hey, everybody, like the traitors are using Michael Rappaport as a weapon against us.
Yeah.
We could take that weapon away from them. I mean, I had an idea, and mistakenly I had said this to Lisa Rinna, which I think was probably also a mistake. I felt like, hey, when the traitors didn't murder Michael Rappaport the first night, what you know what? We're going to use Michael Rappaport against the traitors. What if we then, every time we have a thought, we have a suspect, what if we load that up into Machine Gun Mike and let that be sort of like a canary in the coal mine of like, okay, what if maybe Dorinda's the traitor? Let's tell Michael Rappaport Dorinda's the traitor and see what happens. And sort of like, okay, now we can sort of like pressure test some things of just give it to Michael Rappaport and let him go off on things and see what happens. But I don't know if that would have worked. I did mention that thought to Lisa Rinna, and she was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, okay.
Maybe shared a little too
That's
much
what
with
you
people.
get for sharing too much.
Yeah. Maybe a factor. Yeah,
But
I think,
in my mind,
obviously,
again, I was naive enough to think that I could say things that were productive. Like I didn't want to be one of these people that was like, he doesn't talk. He doesn't say anything.
right. Yeah.
I felt like I needed to prove myself as a valuable member of the faithful, but I never wanted to be like throwing names out there who like I thought that the people that were traitors, like I was never like campaigning, hey, let's get out this person. Like I'm going to collect my evidence. I'm going to be like incredibly sure about it. And then maybe at the round table, I'll make my case or I'll build support. But I want to be locked in. And if anything, I want to suck up to the people that I think are the traitors.
Mm-hmm. I
I want to be on
that,
the good side. I don't want to piss off the traitors. But I feel like I don't mind pissing off Michael Rappaport because he's not a traitor.
Like he can't hurt you.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have
but
sway.
ultimately, Donna Kelsey could try to frame me for frame Michael Rappaport by killing me.
Which, I mean, yet to be seen for us. So I'm sure we'll see if we can see if that pays off. Don't think it will.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Donna's already gone.
Right. But like, can Michael get framed off of that murder? That's what I want to find out. Which I don't think. I mean, I'm curious because we leave episode 3 with like Ron Funch is going to be looked at maybe, and so we'll see. But I think
I didn't hear anybody saying I think Michael Rappaport killed Rob.
Right. There's no way that anyone's looking at that as a through line. To me, that's a failed through line. But again, it's very fun to hear you talk about this, and it's very fun that we have
you know where you can hear me talk about it all season? WeKnowTraitors.com.
Damn right. Every Thursday and other days as well. You treated this like a playground, which I think is exactly what it should be, right?
You're like so much fun. Again, I'm sure that if you go further into the game, it becomes not fun and it becomes a true mind F, but I had the absolute best time while I was there. I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah, and I'm very happy you did because I want people to leave this, first of all, realizing how lucky we were we got to see you. Be sad that we didn't get to see you more, but then also in the event that there's people in the future looking to embark on this journey, play this game themselves, to really play it. No matter what, play it. Don't get complacent. Don't get quiet. Do what you need to do.
I wrote up my how I'm feeling about everything, and I posted
Mhm.
it as a blog for if anybody could read it on the Rob is a Podcast Patreon page, and I had grabbed and it had been like memed, and Drop Your Buffs did a great job with this, as did many others, of capturing the moment where Alan asks me like, how how are you gonna play my game? And the word play is, I think, lost on people. Like, this is supposed to be fun. Like, it's
Mhm.
like you are not like participating in a game. It's play a game. Like, have fun. Like,
Have fun.
that's what this show, I think it's one of the reasons why this show is so successful, where I think that the show at its core, like it's, it's a competition and there's so much that goes into it, but the show is also knows it's supposed to be fun. It doesn't take itself so self-serious at times, whereas I think Survivor can fall into, and Big Brother luckily never falls into that. But I think that Traitors has a really nice balance of keeping the fun, and then also that it's a competition.
It's a balance that is not it's not built of the same ingredients as a Survivor or as a Big Brother. The ratios are definitely different, but I think that's what's giving it its
Mhm.
staying power in this space, is that it isn't just another copy of a format that has existed. It is a
Yes.
different take on it with different proportions.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, Rob, the roundtable happens. You're one of the four people that's, as you said, in the
Yeah.
third batch of votes. Did you feel like, oh man, this guy's also is like, did you think Michael Rappaport was gonna like pester you?
Yeah. So it just crossed my head. It's like, oh my God, I just pissed off Michael Rappaport. I'm gonna be on the receiving end of Machine Gun
Mhm.
Mike. And I went to him in the kitchen. It's like, hey, Michael, I just want to say, like, this was not a personal thing. I really I think that we need to, like, you need to bring it in and really help us. And we fist pumped, or fist pounded, and we were good. And Michael, to his credit, he is he's been in a lot of conflicts with people. Okay.
Mm.
So he didn't take it personally. And I think that, if you just come at him from a, game perspective, or I disagree with you on that, and don't take it to a personal level with him. Like, I actually think he's one of the more, understanding people in this cast, because he has been through hundreds and hundreds of, fights with people. And that's like a week.
And I think, yeah, it's a week, and I think he was already carrying smoke for Jam Jam. So you were the least of his problems. He was looking more so at him
Mhm.
anyway. So, Rob, y'all had your first banishment. Portia leaves, a friend of
And
yours.
I will also say, like, in terms of Michael Rappaport, like, when you hear me talk about him, like, I'm not describing him to people in house as like he is. I hate him. He's a bad person. I'm telling you, he's a bad player, and the reason he needs to go home is because he's bad at this game, and he's holding us back, and he's creating problems for us. That's why he needs to go.
Mhm.
I think he got that.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment of somebody's gameplay. Who's playing like this very
Hmm.
clearly. So after the round table is where things get very interesting.
Yeah, this was a long night.
Yeah, no kidding. So I feel like it's best if you navigate us through this because I don't know
Yeah.
where to
Well,
begin.
there's so much that's going on in this night, and there's so many different things of, like, okay, you have Michael, who's all sort of like, he's out of sorts over what went on in the round, and Tiffany is trying to make Michael feel better, and it's also like taking a little bit of interest in sort of how do I get Michael to stop crashing out. There was Ron, who was very upset after the round table, and he's like, and was also a little bit of a pariah. People were mad at him, and people were like, okay, obviously Ron is a traitor now. He tricked us. And nobody want and I love Ron Funches, and I wanted to go talk to him, but I really felt like if I go talk to Ron Funches right now, people are gonna look at me like I'm a traitor, like I'm
Right.
part of it. I was in on it. But he was like, I understand everybody's mad at me, and so I'll just go be by myself in the other room. And you see him like a couple times, like he's off in like the study, and I'm not sure if that's the study of the library. I think it's the library, the room with all the books, and he's off by himself. Then Lisa Rinna voted for Portia. And I'm actually very surprised that did not turn into be like when I found out that Lisa and Candace were the traitors, I was like, oh, I bet Candace went off on Lisa Rinna in the turret about why did you vote for Portia? Why did you vote for our housewife sister, who's our friend? And I mean, I didn't even see them talk about it in the episode. So I don't know if they had a discussion about it that it got cut. I never really got why Lisa Rinna ultimately did that. I mean, I think it ends up kind of being like a shrewd move because I don't know if Lisa was looking at it like, okay, who's Candace's allies in terms of like, okay, I'm trying to like cut off different avenues for Candace by keeping or getting rid of Portia, who is more loyal to Candace than she is to Lisa or the housewives as a whole. So I thought that was interesting, but I really thought that because I know how time that Portia went home, she was pissed. And you see a little bit of that where she's talking to, I don't know, does she grab, is it Tiffany or Monet that she's like talking about Ron and how she's so mad at him. But Candace was hot about that Portia went home at the round table.
Well, yeah, we also saw her defend Portia at the round table. Like, I think it's also easy to misspeak. I don't think that necessarily means she's a traitor. Yeah, I genuinely also thought that Lisa committed the cardinal sin of voting out a housewife and there was going to be drama. But as of right now, looks like it was forgotten and we moved on.
Yeah, I mean, probably there's drama if you ask Portia, but I did not see any on-screen drama. And I always imagine that, like, wow, I bet when the traitors got back together, I bet Candace like really laid into Lisa Rinna for doing that. But to this point, I have not seen any hint of that.
Maybe it's because of the fact that they couldn't reconvene that night and it took a full other cycle for them to meet
that
up.
night, and then they caught a secret traitor, and like so. It seemed like that in the catch up that they had. I mean, Candace did talk about how I clocked the murder in plain sight, but they didn't talk about the Portia. I don't know how long they're in the turret for, so maybe that just didn't make the edit.
It's entirely possible, but this long night,
yes.
Rob. So I want to walk through specifically your perspective because obviously the show does show us where we end up, but I want to know exactly pinpointed where does this begin? At what point in the night did you feel like the air was different?
So the biggest thing for me was that I wanted to go to bed. And for a variety of reasons, it was this day was a year for me. I woke up in the morning not knowing if I was going to survive the day. I went to the breakfast. We had the mission. We had dinner. We had the round table, and this was going on for some time. And I just felt like, wow, this like shouldn't we be going to bed by now? This is a late night, and it was a late night for no particular reason. And I just started to think, oh my God, what if the traitors are supposed to be doing something right now? And I, really was feeling like, okay, my biggest suspect of being a traitor is Jam Jam. And so Jam Jam would walk into a room and I would walk out of the room. You could not keep me in the same room as Jam Jam. But one of the things that I had really beaten myself up over after all this was, so Jam Jam came into the room and they put drinks out and had a beer, and he's like, oh, they just put out more drinks. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's my cue. Jam Jam's here. I'm out. And I went to the bar and I took a beer, and I opened it, and I sort of like as I opened it, I didn't even put it to my lips. I was like, oh my God, Jam Jam told me to go get the drinks. And I like put the drink like back on the bar because I'm like, you know what? I didn't drink it. I didn't drink it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I think that it's like at that point, like I saw Tiffany, and I haven't talked at all about Tiffany other than in the very beginning, but Tiffany just to me was the person that she was playing the game like I was, and I have the utmost respect for her, and I wish I could have gotten to play the game longer with her because I think that we would have been a really fun team, and I would have really loved to have worked with her because I just think we were on the same page about a lot of different things. And I grabbed her, and you saw in the episode that like, hey, I think the traitors are doing a murder in plain sight. Don't let anybody hug you. Don't let anybody kiss you. I say to her, and she's like, okay, I got it. And that's when we come out, and I start to hear the conga line.
Mm-hmm.
And the conga line is coming. I tell Tiffany, I go back to the room, hide from the conga line, hide. We have to hide from the conga line. And it was such a silly moment in reality that here we are, two grown adults hiding from the conga line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to applaud you for this, Rob,
Mhm.
because I've watched a lot of Traitors. I've talked about a lot of Traitors. I have never seen someone play this level of efficient defense against getting murdered in
Wasn't
plain
that
sight.
efficient?
Well, to be fair to you, it's because you hadn't seen this version of a murder in plain sight happen.
Yeah.
Where this version, you don't even need to be in their vicinity.
Jeremy, like like got murdered. Like the traitors going, like they write on a wall, like so.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not that unique. I know that people talked about like this was like such an anomaly. Like I mean, typically the traitors just go in the turret and write your name down. So at least like I had a chance to save myself here.
Yeah, and I'm just grateful that you were clocked on to know that something like this could happen and to be aware of it, and to actively also be scarred by a conga line till the end of time.
Forever.
It's over.
Yeah. I never need to see one ever, and it was a like a moment where I felt good in the moment. I was like, hey, like this, like I think the traitors are doing murder in plain sight. They're doing the conga line. That's weird. And I didn't join it. Nobody did anything. So I'm Gucci.
Yeah, and the fact that you've done your homework means you've seen all the other iterations, right? You've seen the goblet, you've seen the traitor's gonna say something to you and you have to confirm it. You've seen the pat on the shoulder, so you kind of know all of the different moves that it could go. And I was just so proud of you in that moment. I was like, this is someone who clearly studied and remembered the material, didn't just throw it into the wind.
That being said, like do a conga line would actually be a great murder in plain sight that the traitor, like the producer's probably like, oh yeah, that would have been a good one. That would have ate if like you have to do a conga line and the person who's the person who is in the front of the conga line is the person who's the murder in plain sight. Like that actually would be a great murder in plain sight for the traitors. But I just thought that was so bizarre that was happening at that particular moment, especially when the vibe in the castle was not good. We were like, it was not a party night. Like Portia was beloved. People were mad at Ron Funches. Like it was not that kind of fiesta.
No, and I think that's a very good point to bring up, is that usually we see this happen on other seasons also. That first roundtable takes a lot out of people because they don't know what to expect. They don't know how long and strenuous it is. And then you're more often than not taking out an innocent person, and that guilt does sit on you for a while. So the fact that everyone's just throwing back drinks and now doing a dance, like I can absolutely see why your mind was running in that direction. Now, there's one other scene. There's a couple of scenes here I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Specifically, I think the biggest highlight and the one people are going to be talking about is the one with Candace and Mark Ballas, where you were in the kitchen and you share with her the theory you shared with Tiffany of like, I think there could be a murder in plain sight. Now you ask Candace, you're like, hey, that conga line, you started that, right?
Yes. So I was like, okay, now I feel like I have this information of I think the traitors are doing a murder in plain sight, and really, I think the traitors are doing a murder in plain sight was really my key information. I did not necessarily know the conga line was the murder,
Right.
and it wasn't. But I was not sure, but I did feel like I think the traitors are up to something tonight, and so I ended up going into the kitchen. I remember saying like, "Oh, good, my friends are in here." And Mark, who you didn't see me talk to on the show, but I had become incredibly close with Mark in the last 24 hours over I was trying to save him from the murder that happened to Ian. And we were in cahoots about the Michael Rapport thing. We had a car ride home from the mission together, me and Mark and Ian. And I had become very close with Mark during this time. And so I felt like I had information. I wanted to help my friends. And so here was Mark and here was Candace. And I felt like, okay, I want to, my goal was to try to like warn them about what could be going on. But Candace had mentioned the conga line prior to the first time she says it in that room, that she had said it earlier. And so I had heard her say about the conga line, like, hey, we should do a conga line earlier.
Right.
And so then I said to her, like, oh, wait, but you were the one that said, I want to start the conga line. But I wasn't trying to call her out of like, hey, it wasn't like at the round table, hey, everybody, Candace started the round. Like it was, I was almost like, oh, but you couldn't have been like, it couldn't have been a bad thing because you started the conga line, right? Like I was really trying to still put it all together. And it wasn't until later, like when I was left into my own thoughts, like I wonder if Candace is still here on because I thought there was a chance that Candace could have been murdered that night, where I thought of a world where it made sense of that if people were trying to set up Don, ultimately in the way that Donna tried to set up Michael as by killing me, I thought that, hey, if a traitor really wanted to set up Donna Kelsey as, hey, you should go for Donna next, then a very logical person to murder would have been Candace, because Candace was the one really leading the charge. You could argue that Candace was actually the best traitor hunter on the whole show, considering that she really led the charge against Donna Kelsey, and then ultimately comes through on the next. She doesn't get the credit like that in the episode, but I think there's definitely a way to read this where Candace is the best traitor hunter that we've seen so far. So I thought like, oh, I think Candace could be the person who the traitors murder tonight. And I thought to myself, and if she's not, if Candace is still there, I may have really put my foot in my mouth. I was not trying to tell Candace like, hey, like you were the murderer. Like I really was coming from a place of Mark and Candace were my allies. I was warning them about that. I love that she was must have been like her heart rate through the roof, that she described it in more colorful ways. And
Rob, you said you wanted to bring the game to the traitors, and in that moment you made a traitor.
Listen, I'm happy that I was able to put a little bit of a scare into one of the traitors for at least a couple of minutes. And so I really love that it happened that way, but I was trying to trying to save Candace from the traitors more than I was trying to tell Candace I knew I was on to her. And it wasn't until as I replayed the day in my mind, and I'm sure in my notes, I might have said something along those lines about Candace could very well be a traitor if she ends up being in the castle tomorrow. Let me see my final thoughts. I wrote about Candace that would be a great murder to frame Ron or Donna, really. And then I said, If she lives, I'm worried she's a traitor, and that worry did turn out to be correct.
It did. Well, what's funny, well, now, especially now that you've seen the footage, is that Candace never gets the chance to relay what you said to her fellow traders. But you did see the other two traders interacting, playing chess.
Yes.
At one point.
Yes.
We see, yeah.
But Rob R played chess a lot. He played chess with Ron. He played chess with Tiffany. So it wasn't unusual to see just two people sitting at the chessboard. Rob was playing chess with a lot of different people. And you would have never seen me sit at the chessboard, because that was not the image that I was trying to portray. But for Rob R, who was able to come in as like, oh, you know, he's just I'm trying to think of what's the right charitable word to call Rob R. He's just the, good-looking guy from Love Island. He's not thinking about things that deep. Like, sure, he's playing chess. Who cares what he's doing?
I mean, this is the thing that happens, right? Which is they'll throw the gamer title at the CBS folk, and that means you are all geniuses and you all don't stop thinking about this game. Yeah. And then the other shows get a pass because they are not put in that light, but they are more than capable of playing that way.
And I knew that he was a smarter person than like you might think, and I knew that he had like a more sensitive side than you would typically imagine. He wasn't just sort of like the run-of-the-mill like hot actor from these shows. Like I knew a little bit about him, but just in the way that he was carrying himself, he did not seem at all like somebody who was like really playing the game.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. Again, based on the impression that he probably is giving and why he's doing so well from what we've seen. Because I can't imagine, because we do see the flashback of like you there talking to them a little bit while they're playing chess, but you like you said, they're just playing chess. To you, that's not that big of a deal.
That.
Yeah.
I think I was just like looking for a room where there were people that Jam wasn't in, and some place to go. And I think if anything, I was probably looking for Monet or Natalie. I might not. I think I wouldn't have said that I thought that Jam was a traitor to Natalie, but I probably wanted to warn some other people of like, hey, be careful. There's murder in plain sight.
Yeah. And then I think that this is when the what if game intensifies for me, because genuinely, Rob, there are so many different ways this could go if you are not on that. If you're like name number 5, so you don't make the short list, because then the next day you're looking at Candace, weary of you.
I thought I was so safe. I mean, I was so surprised when I got the letter and you see me walking through the room like, what? Like murdered in plain sight. I'm like, I knew. I don't even understand. How did they get me? They didn't do anything to me. And I didn't know. I didn't know until the episodes came on of how did this happen? And I had to live with, I thought that for a long time that I thought when I opened the beer, that was how I got murdered by the traitors. And I was very upset with myself, because I think that the thing that was hard for me was that like, oh, you did something stupid. You were dumb. And I'm not even ever, anybody who knows me, like as despite how I might have been in my younger days, I barely drink. I'm not a drinker. I don't really enjoy it. And I was just going to just go and like have a beer to have something to do that night. And the fact that I thought that, oh, I went and I opened the beer from the bar, that was how I got murdered in plain sight. And again, especially when I thought that Jam was a traitor, and ultimately I realized that I came to find out that he was not. But the fact that I was like, I can't believe I was so stupid, and it was very hard for me to think that I did something so I did a dumb thing, and that's why I lost. And I'm supposed to be this smart person, and then I went on, and now everybody's gonna be like, you dummy. Idiot. You suck. You're so dumb. What an idiot.
And
it was so it was insult and injury.
Right. And I mean, that's something that is a question I had for you, because you've known for obviously however many months, like what, 7-ish months,
Hmm.
what the result was, but you also don't know how that result's going to be portrayed to us, how we're going to be shown it.
Hmm.
Are you happy are you happy with the way it was showcased, essentially?
I didn't know what they were going to show, and I didn't know how the world was going to receive it, but
Yeah.
I have been so overwhelmed and just blown away with all of the support that I've gotten in these last couple of days. It's just absolutely been incredible. And I've been through this type of situation before where
Mhm.
I played on Survivor of the Amazon, as many people know, and then I played on Survivor All Stars. And when I played on Survivor All Stars, it too was a disappointing finish, but I felt like, and maybe sort of like people have retconned that this was not the case. I felt like in the edit, there's not a lot of talk about like we have to vote out Rob C because he's a threat. Yeah, I think that Big Tom says like, "Hey, we need Rob C. He's smart," and Amber's like, "Too smart." And then I think then the rest of it is like he's lazy. He doesn't know what he's being too. He's not being serious. Like he's annoying. And I felt like that I got an edit that was not true to my experience, and I felt like that the experience, my lived experience, was like, okay, well, yeah, Rob sucks. Like, he's the Rob that sucks. He's like, he blew it, and he like was he? I don't think he was even good in the first place, and that was very hard for me to go through, especially because I did not know what the rest of my life was going to be. I kind of thought that Survivor All Stars was going to be for me that, okay, that was going to be the springboard, that I was going to do so many cool things after because I was famous person from Survivor and the world was my oyster. And then all of a sudden I really had the experience after Survivor All Stars where I felt like the door was slammed shut and it was like, okay, good day, go home, you lose, goodbye. And I didn't know what to do with myself. And I have, the benefit of, 20 plus years, and I really can see, like, with the perspective that I've had from my life to this point where I could argue that the way that it worked out was the best thing that ever happened to me, where I forced me to get serious about, what am I going to do with my career? And it forced me out of my comfort zone to go and move to California and start to work in production and learn how to do all of the things that eventually were going to be the building blocks of Rob as a podcast, and put me in a position where I was going to be out of work and looking for something to start to do to sort of like get my resume out there. And ultimately 16 years later, this is where we are. And so I, I'm not like, okay, what am I going to do with my life now that I ended up not winning or doing well on the Traitors? And so I was able to have an experience where even though I didn't win, I felt like that I was able to, at least in some way, people felt like, okay, well, he had to go because he was too smart. He was a threat. I wish in my house people thought I go to the Traitors in the castle. They say, you're too smart. You can't come. You can't stay here. In my house, I come home like, oh my God, he's so dumb. Dad is so dumb. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know where anything is. But that being said, I I did not go into this experience of like, well, what, like, I need this for what's going to come next. Looks like there might have been wonderful opportunities to come out of it. And who knows, maybe there still will be. But I have gotten so much from this experience, and I really, the reception that I got was beyond my wildest expectations, where people were disappointed, but that they got to see me at least for a couple of minutes on TV be cooking. And that's more than I could have ever expected some 22 years ago when I came off of Survivor All Stars in 2004. And I just have been so happy with all of it, and I'm glad that people, got a little bit of a thrill, even though there was disappointment. Certainly, I understand the people that wanted more, but I had the best time with it, and I wrote about this earlier today when I posted on the on Patreon, but I did have a hard time when it first happened.
Hmm.
I go into the room and I get the letter and I'm like, I don't understand. I didn't understand on a couple of different levels. I didn't understand how it happened. Where I'm like, I knew what they were doing. I didn't do the conga line. I like, how is it a murder in plain sight? And they don't tell you. And so you just say, but I don't get it. They said, you'll see. I said, well, why can't you just tell me now? No. It was, you should see. And look, I understand that's how this whole thing works. That being said, I sort of was really, in a little bit of like a dark place for a few days. And after it happened, I was just focused on, I just want to get home. I just want to get back to my house. I'm not like, I want to get back from Scotland. I want to just get like, and so it was a very quick turnaround for me to like pack and get out and go home. And it took me a long time to get home, and I got home, and I really I cannot say enough about how supportive Nicole was during this whole process, and she was absolutely incredible during this time, and did everything in her power to make me feel like as appreciated and as welcomed as humanly possible. And I'll always be grateful to her for how supportive she was during this experience, and so many others. But I was really down for. I got home on a very late into the night on a Thursday. So it was like I got home like 3 o'clock in the morning on a Friday morning, and I just was like, so I can't believe it's over. Like I'm here, like everybody else is playing the game. Everybody else is going to have all these adventures and all these friendships. And I'm just out. Like, this sucks. I'm so pissed. Like, I can't believe that this is how it worked out, because Pooya, I really felt like, and I'm not super woo woo, but maybe sometimes a little bit. I felt like that this was, I was going to go out there, and it was all going to go my way. The universe was conspiring in my favor. It was all, this was the perfect story, that I was going to go out, and I didn't get on Survivor 50, but I did this, and this is going to be great. And now I'm going to like really like every sign was pointing in that direction to me. And I really felt like that this is going to be it. Everything is working, and I'm talking to my dad, and it's all happening, and this is like the best version of me, and I'm doing it, and I'm living the dream, and this is incredible. I'm having the best time, and then all of a sudden it was gone, and I was home, and I was, it doesn't make sense. I can't. I don't understand. Why did this, but why? This doesn't make any sense why this happened. And it took me, I'll be honest, it took me a couple days. And it really was it took me until I think I got home on a Friday, and I had a couple of low days, and I think it was like the Monday after. It was like the 3 days after I got home that I started to like, okay, this did not go great, but like I cooked for a minute. Like I felt like, okay, I'm proud of what I did. I thought about Annabelle, and I thought about how like I showed my light. I played a bad hand as good as I could have. I felt like that this was just the actual getting on the show was like so incredible, and like what a commercial for what I've been spending my whole life building here on RHAP. And here's the difference between this and Survivor All Stars is that I'm going to go back to the podcast. And on the podcast, I'm unkillable.
Mhm.
You can't shut me up. I have a platform that the traitors can't take away from me. We're doing it. We're doing the thing.
Mhm.
And this is what we do every day. And I read, so I love to listen to audiobooks and do work on myself. And I came across a really great book called The Obstacle's the Way by Ryan Holiday. Ryan Holiday has like 1 million books that are about the philosophy of stoicism. And it really clicked for me about like, okay, something you lost on a game show. So what? How do you use this? Like, how do you get better from this? And I
Mhm.
said, I'm gonna really I'm just gonna I want to level up everything in my life through after this. How do I carry myself like somebody who went through this experience? And I just have, since that time, I've really, and listen, it hasn't all, there's definitely been like good days and bad days along the way, but I just am trying to use this experience to and like that. Yeah, I had a setback, but I feel like that people like have actual bad things happen to them all the time. And like my third game show didn't go great, and neither did my second. But like, but look at look at all the rest of this. It's so I'm so blessed. This is also great. I had the best time doing the show. I loved the response that I got from it, and really since that time, I've really just been working on trying to continue just to get better. And it was during that time when I was home where I completely like overhauled my studio, because I said like, okay, well, what would it look like if, I was going to have the best version of a podcast setup? And I did a lot of construction during that time. I know I had to tell people that Nicole and her dad worked on it as a cover story, but it was really me with a table saw and hammering nails, getting all this stuff from Home Depot delivered and building this like a big fake wall behind me. And Nicole helped me with a lot of the designs, and I got a lot of new equipment, and I just wanted to just keep improving this thing. And I really feel like that. And I know I hate when people lose the show and then declare victory, and that's not what I'm doing. But I just feel like Pooya, I feel like I've gotten so much out of this experience, and I feel so much richer as a person for having
Mhm.
gone through this. And I feel like that I have like a confidence in myself that I did not have like at this time a year ago.
I love to hear that because, I'll speak as someone who watches you and who observed you from when you got back. Rob, I was convinced that you got like all the way to the end
I know.
because
I
of the
feel
way you
bad.
carry yourself.
I feel
No, no,
bad
no, no, no.
because I don't want you, and I hope you don't, and I hope that people don't feel like, oh, he tricked us. And
No,
because
not even a little bit.
it wasn't my intention to trick, but it
Mhm.
was my intention to be a professional. And
Of course.
I I came back, and I followed every single person in the cast on Instagram. I really I wanted to
Mhm.
put out like I like feel like I wanted to be I've seen so many of the different reality stars over the years where it's like, okay, well, I know how they did based off of this, and I didn't want to give anything away. But I hope
Yeah.
that people don't feel like I tricked them, because that was not my intention.
No, 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 of course not. I mean, I think people recognize that you and I talked about this at the very beginning of the podcast, that you are a professional. You also are like me. We don't want to know the results of,
Hmm.
something until we watch it play out. No, but what I meant by what I was saying was, you mentioned you went through a lot of growth this summer. A lot of things change. You've become like your best version of yourself. And what I'm trying to tell you is, I can see that. Like,
That I
just the way
appreciate
you're
that.
carrying yourself, I can
Yeah.
absolutely see that. And like, yeah, go ahead.
It's a work in progress.
Of
I'm
course.
like, I don't want to say that, like, okay, I went on the Traitors and then I was home for 2 weeks and then I became a different person. I
Mhm.
started a journey, I think, at that time that I have, that I continue on to this
Work
point.
on. Yeah.
And my goal is to keep continuing on that journey. And I feel like that the thing that did click for me is that in the past, I think I feel like I would face adversity or setback and be like, okay, well, that's it. And I feel like that this idea of, okay, but that's like, I don't understand why this happened this way, but I can there is a way to get better because of this, because I've just gone to, this is like hard mode now. If I'm in the gym now, there's more weight that I'm trying, and then because of that the muscle gets bigger,
Mhm.
and that's really how I'm trying to, and how I have like received uh an unlucky turn of events. And I don't know. Maybe it's the type of thing where 20 years after this, I look back and say, like, wow, it's the version of my life that happened because of this ends up being where, listen, I could imagine a version of my life where, what if I go on, I have magic carpet ride, great run, and now I'm just like, I'm gonna like rest on my laurels, like wait till January, where like you're gonna see I'm gonna win the show, and then it's like I'm the new Lord Ivar. They didn't really show me, okay, now what? But I've gotten so much out of this, and I'm so grateful to the people that thought it was a good idea for me to go on, and so grateful to the my family. And I felt so close with not just my wife, but also my mom and my sister and my brother, who've been so incredible during this whole experience. That the outpouring of support that I got from people, where even just going back to the podcast that you all did, and the collection of videos that Michael Horn put together from all the patrons, people who I don't know personally, who feel like they know me, who feel like that they were happy for me. And I don't take that for granted. It's so amazing. And Pooya, you've been the greatest friend through this whole experience, and the fact that I have somebody who I could trust with my baby through all this time, and to do all these podcasts, and for you to represent how I would do the shows. It's just it's really incredible. And it's it's all gravy.
It's all gravy. And first of all, I appreciate the kind words. I mean, at the end of the day, you've given me a life that I couldn't have ever imagined. I have a career. I was never someone who was ambitious, who thought I could be like a career person. I never understood that. I never saw that for myself. And then I got into this, and now I'm doing something I love on a daily basis, and I have you to thank for that. I found my wife
Hmm.
through this, so it means a lot to me also. And so to be told that you do have trust in me, and you think I can control it, and you've given me these responsibilities, it means the world. And I'm just thankful, Rob. I'm glad that the Traitors gave us something that, you know, I it never felt like something I thought was gonna come. And especially because I've known you my whole time. I've known you as Rob the podcaster, not Rob that went back to
Rob C.
television. Not Rob C. Definitely just Rob, not Robbie, just Rob. And so I feel like, and I echo what a sentiment that I'm sure a lot of people have had, was we got something we didn't expect to see ever again. We got to see it, and we loved it so much that it hurt that it finished early, but it was so sweet and so
Mhm.
tasty. And we thank you for making it sweet and tasty.
Yeah. And here's the other part of this where we talked about this a little bit the other night where, you know, in terms of like, if you're a fan of Rob's podcast, like what better scenario was there for me to go to the castle? Like, I was there for the premiere night, and then I'm going to be back here with you, like, embedded reporter with a podcast about the whole season. And we're going to have the best time talking about it all. I'm going to go to the finale. It's going to be incredible. Like, this is going to be the best way. And also, like, if I would have been on Survivor 50, I wouldn't have been able to podcast Survivor 50. So I'm going to get the podcast this whole season of the Traitors. I'm going to get the podcast Survivor 50. Like this, we're doing great.
We're blessed.
Yeah.
We're blessed, Rob. Yeah.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
And can I also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention of like the final couple of weeks of my journey from going from Survivor player to being in Scotland is part of the final chapter that we wrote here in The Tribe and I Have Spoken, available at robisabook.com.
Perfect. Yeah, make sure y'all get the pre-orders in and get ready and excited.
I did the final revisions of The Tribe and I Have Spoken from the airplane. I had to buy the Wi-Fi to go as I was on my way to Europe.
We might have to sit and talk about the Wi-Fi rates on flights because some of them are wilding, and then also the Wi-Fi ain't that good. So I'm happy it worked.
My podcast on American Airlines, but I have nothing to do with it. Okay.
Oh, no. Just two friends ranting, basically, is my hope. Yeah. Now, Rob, I have a couple of other questions. These are more rapid fire. And they're more like questions we would ask any regular old contestant, not just Rob. Okay. So, first of all, would you do it all over again?
Would I go back, or would
you go back? If you got an invite in the inbox that said, Rob, let's give Scotland another shot, what you saying?
It was amazing. I of course, yes.
Amazing. Okay. Second thing I want to ask you is, as a, Survivor player, there have been many survivors that have not entered the castle and played. Who are some Survivor players you would like to see that have not yet made an appearance? Yeah,
Tyson would be a natural to go and play. Kelly Wentworth, I think, would be another really incredible one. I think there's a lot of people that are in Survivor 50 that I think we're going to be a really great Traitors players one day. But I think that would be really, really fun to have those two. Jonathan Penner would be incredible. Jerry Manthe would be another good one. There's a wealth of gamers to go from.
We got plenty of gamers to go around.
CBS reality stars, competition reality stars.
I feel like competition reality stars could slide. That could work. All right. And one last question here, not including me, because that would be very easy and biased. What podcaster do you think would do well in the castle?
So we saw Chappelle win RHAP Traitors. And so I think that people that have like are really known more for that, like, okay, wow, they're a really big personality where people sort of like underestimate how smart and crafty and clever they are, I think are the players that will probably do the best. So I think Chappelle is really at the top of the list. Somebody like a Haley Strong would be also like a incredible choice. I think that the people that, when you have a podcast and they're not the driver of the podcast, they're sort of like the person who is the big personality on the podcast. I think those are the people that are probably going to do the best.
I would have answered the exact same way. So we're on the same wavelength. And Rob, you and I, our journey's just beginning. Like you said, we're going to be back together covering the season every week, week out. People should check out the book, check out and pre-order the book.
Check us out on Chat BCC also.
Yes. Yeah, we're there. It's been very fun. And I'm very curious how some of these, because, obviously
Sandra and Sandra and Colton Underwood got into it a little bit.
Yeah, we're not at some levels we've seen before, but hey, it could go any which way. I wonder what it would have looked like if Nicole was in this Chat BCC. Would we have had shades of Brendan Viegas in there?
Yeah, do you want Nicole in Chat BCC? I would probably invite her to something.
I mean, I think people would love to see that. I think they'd be very down. Yeah. All right. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this with us. This was a very fun
I think
journey,
this flew
Rob.
by.
It does not feel like it was 3 hours and change.
Yeah.
I cannot thank
This
you
has got
enough, Rob,
longer than
for
I was on the
being
show.
okay. Well, too soon, please. Like we're still reeling. No, but I do appreciate you, Rob, for being so open and so vulnerable in this conversation. Your insight means a lot, and I'm happy to get to hear it. I'm happy to hear that you're in a great place now. And can't wait to see where the Rob journey goes from here.
Yeah, maybe we could do a patron podcast at some point of all of my thoughts from my notes of all the things that I was going to try and never did, never got to, and all of the things I was wrong about.
I would love to be a part of that. I think we should absolutely do that. We can do a tier list, even all the stuff. We'll have fun with it.
Anyway, it's going to be, I think, a very fun season. It's going to be very fun to talk about all of these different people that are still in the cast. It's a very fun cast. And so I'm really looking forward to these next couple of weeks.
I cannot wait. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll get to break it all down for all of you lovely people out there. We will be doing, like you already knew, Thursday nights, our recap nights. We'll be live right after the episode.
Live after the episode.
Yeah. Very exciting. If we do get exit interviews, we will both be there for those. And in the event that you are not sick of us yet, we will also be doing feedback shows with a guest. And
I have a big day of exit press coming up on Monday.
Yeah, you've got a gauntlet to go through, Rob. On the other side of it, you're on the other side of it this time.
On the other side of it, yeah. I've really given a lot of thought to how I want to carry myself in exit interviews, and so I am looking forward to hopefully being able to talk the talk.
Well, I hope it's nothing but a positive experience, Rob. And hopefully you have a fun time with those. And then we'll be right back here on Thursday.
And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the. Can I drop a hard F here on the? I won't do it, but like,
what? Yes.
hit
3 hours
hit that
in.
Subscribe button so hard, okay?
He said, "Fucking."
And I can't really to everybody who made it through 3 hours and whatever minutes of this podcast, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you and how I have been on this amazing magic carpet ride for 16 years. Thank you for allowing me to get to do this, and thank you for all of the love I've gotten this week. I have been so overwhelmed these last couple of days. So thank you so much for that and all of this. And I can't wait to have so much more fun as we will play and talk about everything in reality TV.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. That's enough from us here. Hope you had a lovely time. We'll catch you real soon on your pod feed. Make sure you're subscribed to this effing feed. Take care for now. Have a good one. See you later.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.